Okay, this is the April video chat. My plans got completely screwed up. I'm hesitant to even say anything now. And I think this is the longest period since I started doing. I did have gaps this long when I started civil protection, but I think since then this might be the longest gap without a new video. So sorry about that. However, I'm still quite optimistic for multiple reasons. Right now, there's still 4 videos underway. Like they're different ones. I mean, one of them Stream is Mine, one of them's Game Dungeon. The other 2 are kind of surprises. But I'm still working at it constantly, and I'm getting more help now. I guess I'll start with that announcement. It looks like I'm gonna have an editor for Game Dungeon. I had about, I want to say like total, maybe something like 20 applicants. I thought I was just too picky. Well, I may actually have 2. One person, okay, out of like the 20 or so applicants, 3 people made it to like the second round for me, where I decided basically the test was I would give them 5-minute chunk of a Game Dungeon episode and just with the general instructions and see how they did with it. And like out of those 3 people, I felt like they were kind of getting it for what I was after. And out of that 3, 2 of them went on to the final round, which whatever. You don't need all the details, but point is there might be one other person who can help me with. One person has basically passed my test. It doesn't mean things are perfect, but it means that I feel like they got a lot more right than they got wrong, even though this is super subjective. I warned people this time that they were basically facing Hunger Games odds, which wasn't too far off. And even he's not doing it perfect, but what like from his latest like cut that he did as an experiment, it was like a different chunk of the episode. What I found was I'd be watching it and like a lot of stuff was good. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good shot. Or I found myself spacing out a bit, which is great because that means that it's cut together well enough that it's comfortable to watch. And then all of a sudden it'd be happening like, I would think, no, wait, why did they do that transition there? Why would anyone cut there? And then it'd be a couple others. So it was kind of either on or off. And it was like, I don't know, between 60 to 80% good. So that's good. I can work with that and just give like a list of revisions. And I think, okay, this doesn't mean much currently, but at normal times, I think this is gonna double the production rate for Game Dungeon because it's less I'm gonna have to do. It means I can be working on to another video. So I'm only gonna have 1 editor per episode. So even if the other guy does well, it's still, I'm not going to mix 2 editors per episode. I think that would be too much of a mess, but I could alternate between them. So yeah, I'm super stoked to that. I thought I was too picky and wasn't going to find anyone. It's not that I hated doing this process too, because like I hate having to reject people, especially people who have a lot of talent and are good. It's just that they just weren't on the same sort of wavelength as I was for the kind of effect I was going for. I have had a couple, I think in one of the previous chats, and also got an email. I want to assure people's fears that I'm still directing this and doing the quality control. It's just that someone else is going to be, it's just I'm giving general directions and someone else is going to be picking out exactly which shot for several scenes. There's still a few scenes I can be just laser specific on, and I might edit those myself. But others, it's like they could go 10 different ways and still be all right, but they just have to be within certain boundaries. But yeah, I think the chat told me in the past the angry video game nerd he apparently isn't writing his scripts anymore and outsourced a lot of that. This is not that. Like I'm still writing everything and directing everything. It's just I'm getting help with the editing. So, and it's going to have to kind of pass my, and I'm the kind of quality control on this. So, basically, if I wasn't happy with it, I wouldn't put it out. So I'm not going to do, so you don't have to, I was thinking, in order for you to make, like, just to make videos and not even do the writing, I was thinking, like, I would rather do another fundraiser before I did that, and I'm not gonna, and I don't want to do that. So, okay, so yeah, that was one of the announcements. I'm hoping they're gonna do the lion's share of the editing on the next Game Dungeons, and it's gonna be a big one. So, we'll see. Let's see. Had some other notes. Did I put them? Oh yeah, okay, they're out of order. That's why. Oh yeah, the BBC finally released its copyright claim on my video. They ran out the clock. Like first they did the claim, then I disputed it, then they came back again and doubled down, and so I did an appeal, and then they had 30 days to escalate it even farther, or else the rights were returned to me. So they ran down the full 30 days. So they're just wasting everybody's time is what they're doing. Yeah, in order for them to escalate it, it would basically, I think like it was either the next step or the step after that, they would basically have to show proof that they were suing me. So I called their bluff, essentially. Still never a fun process. It always gives me flashbacks of machinima, of the company. So that's good. What else? Oh yeah, for those that are interested, I unfortunately wasted some time, but I finally have like a prototype version working of where you taking 2D video and converting it to 3D. However, it's still pretty buggy, but I finally found software that can even do the damn thing. And there's so many steps, but the hardest part was me finding something that could convert the depth video to 3D. And there was almost nothing. But the program I found that did it was Neos VR, and NEOS VR. And it sort of seems like it's kind of like a Gary's Mod or Second Life or Metaverse competitor in VR, but it also has the function to play back depth video. And then I had to figure out this funky format for that. Yeah, like the one I found that works is, instead of black and white, it uses blue and green for the depth map, but it finally worked, so I'm happy about that. But it's not as good as some other things, but if you want to experiment with that, if it had worked better, I probably would have made a video on it, but it's not quite there. But let's see. Oh yeah, and the other yeah, again, this is time I would normally just hide because I'm embarrassed I don't have another video yet, but I guarantee things are happening, but I'm not going to give any more details on it because that's blown up in my face too many times now. But one thing I will do after I have a new video out, there's no way I'm doing this before then anymore, is Itch had another one of those gigantic game packs for sale. I think this one was only 1,000 games. However, even those numbers might have been inflated. It might only be 500 actual video games. They include like some tabletop PDFs and stuff with it. I went ahead and got that, so I might do my rapid fire judgment of the games again. I think there's some repeats from the last time too, and I'll put that up. I can do a streaming session of that. One person was upset that I passed on Glimmerwood, which looked like a sort of a city management game with fairies. I don't know. It didn't quite seem like my thing, but they seemed pretty upset about it. So I thought I'd give that a mention. But yeah, so yeah, this should be a lot quicker than the last one because it'll only be about 500 games to go through. So I'll do a stream on that. I think I'll list that on the website on Twitter later. But real videos first. I can't I can't put that before that. So yeah, I guess I'll just answer questions. You should look at this as just sort of like a bonus, and really, I need to get more videos out. So, but they are coming. They're definitely coming, and I'm still really stoked about the possibility of an editor. My instincts were telling me that even with explaining everything and revisions, it was still going to be faster working with an editor than doing it myself. Because I was seeing because I gave him plenty of footage to work with for like this last test, and I was seeing it's like, oh yeah, that's a good shot. That would have taken me time to find that, or I might not have gotten as good a one. So yeah, they're almost going to be like a second director. So we'll see how it goes. And the chat's already lost me. Wasn't Frog Fraction 2 hidden in it? Oh, maybe. I have no idea. There were a lot of games in that last bundle. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to answer the submitted questions first, and I'll do live ones at the end. I feel like I could go faster this time, but I've felt like that many times. So. Sometimes I see questions where I realize, oh yeah, this is going to take a long time to answer, and others, I didn't see as many of those this time. So yeah, and the top question is a repeat, I'm pretty sure. This has been asked before. What loot would you drop if someone should defeat you? And I think what I answered before was like a portable MP3 player, since I almost always take that when I'm out. And some earbud headphones. Yeah, they're like $10 Sony ones. Some lint. I mean, I guess they could have my wallet, but you know how, like in games, some games will like let you kill NPCs, and then sometimes they'll have like a really great item on them, but a lot of times they don't have. A lot of times they'll have nothing or nothing good. I was thinking, I wouldn't want to give a lot of incentive for the player to kill me. So it's just like, oh, it's it might not be the most common stuff, but it's not particularly helpful for the player, so it'd be sort of disappointing. But underneath that on Reddit, somebody had an excellent answer. Ringwood Goblin. That's another very solid answer from the Requital episode. I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, that's excellent answer. Ringwood Goblin. Oh yeah, okay. And this next one, the chat should feel free to chat should feel free to chime in on this one too. What are the widest plot holes you ever encountered in a story? And I was thinking mostly in movies or TV shows, but I wrote down a couple. This one's sort of an honorable mention because I'm sure it probably may have the most plot holes out of any movie I've seen, but it just moves by so fast that you're never really given a chance to get any bearings, so they can almost get away with it, which was Star Trek Into Darkness. I remember when I walked out, it's like it's going by so fast, you don't really have time to grasp that there are plot holes. So it kind of I would be all right with that if it wasn't such a mess, because they were trying to build off of Star Trek, and that's not really what I wanted out of Star Trek. So okay, so we have a quiet place from the chat. They show the monsters avoid natural sources of sound such as waterfalls, but people are living. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I would probably just build my house like right next to a waterfall if that was the case. Yeah, I do remember thinking that. That one's. Yeah. If the monsters are that huge a threat, I guess that makes sense. But I guess they still need to get food though. So maybe they figured the farm was better, but they were taking a lot of precautions on that farm. So, okay, so other honorable mentions. Oh no, this one fits the bill. This is an honorable mention. I'd say Avatar, because the movie clearly establishes that the native aliens there are no match for future military technology. Yeah, in fact, they even have a line saying, you know, what yeah, I showed this, I think, in, I think it was Veil of Darkness episode. It's like we're bows and arrows going up against gunships. I was thinking, yeah, that's pretty much the short and long of it. And then by the end of the movie, they just unite some clans and then do the exact same thing they've been doing. I guess some people pointed out that they were shattering the windshield. They were using spears to shatter the space age bulletproof glass on the gunships. I mean, I guess those have some more mass, but like nothing changed with the tactics. They just got more numbers, but it's like it wasn't really. I mean, more numbers can overwhelm an enemy, but I felt like they weren't really showing that either. I mean, yeah, you can have more numbers, but are more numbers going to save you against a minigun? You know, or something like that. I guess they could have shown the military running out of ammo for Avatar. Yeah, that would do it, I guess. But even then, they had like big mechanical mechs, and it like, in fact, I remember in the theater when I saw that one in the theater because I was with a friend and he invited me to go see it, so I said sure, why not? And I hadn't even I had been busy during that time. I wasn't even aware of what the movie was about, or I hadn't seen commercials or anything. So I went into that one blind. I I remember thinking the movie was very derivative, but I remember that part stumping me. Like I was thinking, well, how are they going to defeat them? They've shown that they're no competition for the technology of the humans with the future military. So what I came up with in the theater was I was thinking, okay, like they're gonna get more and more defeated, but they've already shown like that they have like this real big connection to the land, you know, and they plug in and stuff like that. So what I was thinking was gonna happen was they were gonna wipe out more and more of them and like, you know, do slash and burn on the land. Then the land itself was gonna turn into this giant organism and rise up and demolish the colony. That's what I thought was gonna happen because that was the only writing I could figure my way out of it. And that I think that would probably make it a better ending too, because then it would be responding to the human colonists as though they're like a virus or like an invader. So it's like it's triggering the planet's immune response system. I thought that would have made a lot more sense. And then you wouldn't have the plot hole, and then it would have been consistent with the rest of what they had already written. Yeah, but they didn't do that. They just did more of the same, except now they're playing the dramatic music and it's farther along in the movie. So now what they did works. Yeah, I think, I can't remember if I mentioned this in the episode. This would be, like I was thinking, I thought of a good analogy to this. In War of the Worlds, you know, in War of the Worlds, we throw everything we have at the aliens. It doesn't work, but at the end, you know, it's the viruses that undo them. So I was thinking this would be like if in War of the Worlds, we threw everything at them and the aliens keep coming, but then we throw more missiles at them by the end of the movie, and then that works. Like it just like it wouldn't feel as good or well written then if they did that. Okay, so Avatar was one of them. Yeah, now we'll get to the big ones. I think I've mentioned this one before. Star Trek Voyager. It's the series. But by the end of it, I guess this one, I'm impressed by this one though, because this isn't just a plot hole. This just like breaks continuity so flagrantly. They just don't care that I can almost respect it. Where the Borg Queen, yeah, I guess this is a spoiler for the ending of Star Trek Voyager, but the Borg Queen, she's well, there's a couple of things going on, but she's the big antagonist by the end of the series, and they end up killing her. Except we already had the movie Star Trek First Contact, where she goes back in time and they kill her there. Like, yeah, like Data kills her by by flooding it with the toxins. So the movie the series doesn't reconcile that. And Star Trek is totally the sort of series you could reconcile this by having an alternate timeline explain, but they don't bother, or else I really missed something. So for me, from my perspective, it's like, okay, they killed this person that we already know dies in the movie later. Like, so it's like, what? I was impressed by that. Like, yeah, I was surprised. Maybe not for the best reasons, but on that note, I've probably mentioned this one. Oh, the movies aren't canon, only Next Generation is. Well, see, how is a casual viewer supposed to know this? I mean, as in, I saw Star Trek Next Generation, I saw the movies, and I saw Voyager, and they seem to connect more or less in other ways. So, yeah, I think, what was it? Even in Nemesis, what Picard has like a video chat with Janeway, like for a brief moment. So, like they're just overlooking that they killed this character twice, and it's like the exact same character. It's because I mean, I've heard it, like, oh well, it's the Borg, it could be a duplicate. That's not really how the Borg roll. I mean, the Borg, they might be functionally duplicates, but no, they just take organic beings. They're not cloning people. They're just harvesting living beings and assimilating them. So this should be a different woman if it was a different Borg Queen. So again, it's totally something that show could resolve if they wanted to, but they didn't. But yeah, the other big one I had was the show Prison Break, where there's this Secret Service guy who's like a rogue agent, and he ends up getting arrested, but a lot of people want him dead. And like on the way to prison from his trial, like the armored car gets hijacked by these people, and they don't show it because it's kind of a PG-13 rated show, but they don't leave much to the imagination. He's in an armored car, they open up the doors, and they shoot it like 6 times or something, point blank, with shotguns. So yeah, they don't show the actual pellets hitting him, but he's just there in the prison jumpsuit. I mean, there's nowhere for him to go. And then later, like then later he comes back, he's alive, and all they say is, oh, like, I think he's paraphrasing Mark Twain, like saying, rumors of my death are greatly exaggerated, and like that's it. It's like, oh, okay, so we just don't care. Like, it's... And Prison Break was like a show that was kind of over the top, but it wasn't that over the top. Like, it wasn't bringing people back from the dead over the top, but it was... I'm impressed when they just bring characters back from the dead or kill them twice, and there's just no explanation, so... let's see. Oh, somebody's saying the Borg Queen is in the new Picard show. I don't know. Maybe I ended up seeing season 1 of that. I thought it was, it was pretty disappointing. Like the first episode, I felt like, okay, this is different, but maybe we can work. Maybe it's getting better. And after that, I felt like it went off a cliff. It was. I don't know if I'm even going to watch the second season of Picard. It would not surprise me if the Borg Queen is back in that too. Yeah, let's go for a hat trick. Like let's let's see if we can kill her 3 times with no explanation, no consistency or anything. And I unfortunately missed if the chat was giving other good suggestions for plot holes. See, the thing about plot holes is if the movie is really good, you may not notice them, or they might be kind of minor, or sometimes they're just things where like the character probably should have thought of that, but it's not necessarily like a dead to rights plot hole, whereas in like there should not be happen. Well, there's one I might say for a side video, so I'm not going to mention that. Actually, I think well, there's probably more than one. Yeah, there's probably more than one of the sort of pseudo plot holes in Prometheus. But I remember one that stood out was they talk about how they're something like millions of miles away from the Earth, and somebody did the math, and that would have put them like around Jupiter or something, when they're supposed to be on a completely different like exoplanet, I think. So yeah, Prometheus. Yeah, because there's a plot hole, and then there's just sort of like weaker writing where it doesn't make a lot of sense that the character would do this. But then there's stuff that like, no, you can't reconcile this based off the reality you've created, Okay, somebody's asking about how does it feel to have a dedicated, consistent fan base? Well, great. I'm glad people will still watch the video despite me being late, with the current ones. And I hope to make up for it. I hope this is going to be a month of redemption for me. But yeah. Oh yeah. And there's another one. This is another example of like not technically a plot hole, but it was a great. It was a great observation. I haven't seen this channel in forever, but there was one. They're probably still going strong. What was it? How It Should Have Ended. And they had one where they draw these cartoons for like these alternate endings for movies, and they had one for Star Wars. And in the one for Star Wars, they're saying, "Oh, we'll be in range in like 40 minutes or something." And it was a Admiral Tonkin, or he's saying something. I say we're in range now. Fire. And then so they fire the Death Star at the moon and just blow it up completely. That wasn't the main target, but that was what was in the way and what they were waiting to clear before they could blow up the main planet. And so they just blow up the moon and then just wait for the Death Star to recharge and then just blow up the planet afterwards. So I love that. It's like, I say we're in range now. Fire. So yeah, it's like, let's just take the brute force approach to this. The moon still was in the way, but it's like, well, we have the Death Star. We could just blow it out of the way. I mean, it'd be less elegant, but I thought that was pretty good. Oh, somebody's mentioning Armageddon. Armageddon, I'm not sure. That's one of those movies that's like, it's established pretty quickly you're not supposed to take it seriously. So it's like those kinds of movies get a little more of a pass. I mean, the more comedy you have in your movie and the seriousness of it, then like, yeah, I'm not. I'm sure that. Yeah, I'm sure that has plenty of plot. Well, I think the biggest one was that. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I think it had to do with the physics. Like they were, like if they drill into it and then put the explosives there, the level that they're drilling. Yeah, I think that was the big one. For the size of the asteroid versus like the kind of payload they were detonating, like the depth they were drilling would just not matter. Like you could almost fire it like right next to it. Like it would either. Yeah. What would they say? It's the size of Texas. I remember that line. So yeah. I think I think like the math was way off in that one. Like by the time, but by the time it's close enough for us to reach it, but in space to detonate it, it's already way too late. We would have had to send the missile out like way earlier. So, but again, that's a movie. That's a movie you're not supposed to take too seriously. But I mean, yeah, I guess it would have helped. But that's you know, I don't begrudge Michael Bay for making like goofy stuff like that. What I don't like about his movies are like the camera work, and then sometimes like with Transformers, it felt like half the movie was like this sort of soap opera-ish thing with like a teen high school soap opera thing. It's like, who is this for? Like, we're here for the Transformers and to watch them wreck stuff or save the day or something. Like that's like so if it's just dumb fun, I'm fine with that. But well, your movie worry about plot holes. I think they're already. Um, I'm gonna try. Well, if some get, it's possible they could have it. In which case, it just got past me. But there is one thing. It's like a minor thing. I'm sort of overlooking. It wouldn't affect the main plot. It just would affect like behavior a bit. But there's kind of I couldn't figure out a good way around it, and I don't want to reveal what it is. Um, yeah, I hope not. I hope it won't have big plot holes, but I imagine someone analyzing it afterwards could maybe find something. But let's see. There is thought put into the plot. I'll leave it at that. So okay, yeah, I think that's all I have for. Let's see. Yeah, well, mentioning Armageddon, I think what was it the movie that came out around similar time was Deep Impact that had better science to it, but it didn't have the over the top stuff. Okay. All right, more questions. Oh, what do you think will happen with Valve after Gaben passes away? Will they become publicly traded company? Will they sell out to Microsoft? What is your prediction? Boy, I hope they don't sell out to Microsoft. That would be, geez, that might actually turn me into a Luddite where I'm only playing retro games or indie stuff. The yeah, they're saying he owns 51% of the company. I'm not very. I don't know. I probably know as much as you do, or less even, as far as the what's going on with the internal workings of Valve. So you'd probably have to interview the other big owners. I guess ask who is it, Tyler at Valve News Network, Tyler McVicker. If anyone has better insight on that, it'd probably be him. But yeah, I think that could be a mark turning point for the worse uh, if they become publicly traded or yes sold to Microsoft. I think that's the only reason Valve's been able to do good things. You know, I consider stuff like Steam VR or the Steam Deck or them kind of experimenting with different concepts to be generally good things. Yeah, or just having Linux more robust support for gaming on Linux. You know, once you turn into a publicly traded company, then you're answerable to your shareholders, and what your shareholders want is returnings quarter after quarter, and so that means a lot of things they do just wouldn't fly. I mean, because it's not. It wouldn't be profitable, or it might be profitable, but not as profitable as doing more surefire things. Now, that could mean you get more, like, let's say, Half-Life sequels, so that could be the upside to it. But then they might not be as good, or you might have things like Valve trying to move to streaming services, or maybe they decide to transition to having a monthly fee for future games, or something, to access your account or something like that. It would get, or they decide to just shut down all the modding, things like that, where like the cost benefit analysis doesn't pan out for the bean counters, and that's all that matters once it's a publicly traded company. So, once you become a publicly traded company, there can be variations, but in general, all that matters is earning as much money as possible at all times. So for some companies, the shareholders understand that, like, okay, well, we still want to earn as much money as possible, but we understand that your business model means we have to wait 2 or 3 years for a real cash cow, and not every quarter. But even then, there's going to be constant pressure to shorten that term. So it's the party's over once that happens. I mean, it might not happen overnight, but you would see changes you wouldn't like over time, I'm sure. But yeah, I have no idea what'll happen. I hope it stays private, just because, like, I haven't seen good things come from publicly traded companies versus when you have owners who gives a damn about it. So, okay, curious about this long comment here. Oh yeah, the Windows compatibility layers. Oh, okay. Well, this sounds like a better thing to email me about. It sounds the long question, the long comment there. For stuff for streaming, it's not as good for like longer concepts that require like multiple thoughts, or they need to be submitted ahead of time. I'm not necessarily good. I'm not necessarily going to give a great answer just on the fly for something that takes like a lot of thought to sort of run down different chains of thought with, and that's the sort of comment it seemed like. Okay. Well, I guess they're saying it was the 15th anniversary of Civil Protection on YouTube, because Civil Protection first episode was in 2006, but yeah, I put it up on YouTube later. Let's see. What do you think the next 15 years of YouTube video creation will be like? Boy, that's another big fog for me, because again, I could see a lot of things happening. YouTube seems like they're trying to abandon the long tail lightly. And yeah, I guess we've seen restrictions on what, yeah, that's what's weird to me, is that, like, I've heard of restrictions where, like, it can get your channel removed, and it's not for stuff that I would have thought, like, where you could argue, like, okay, well, they're telling people how to make bombs, or, this is gonna, it's not stuff that, like, struck me as, like, obviously dangerous. And I could see it, like, okay, like, the big ones I know of are, I think, was it like contesting the last election, the presidential election, depending on what you say about, I'm just going to say the pandemic. For all I know, it still flags your video if you actually say the name of the virus in question here. And I think more recently, if you trivialize or something, the war in Ukraine, like this strikes me as an odd thing to be like, okay, yeah, we'll remove your channel. Again, like, if you were like detailing bombs, or saying like you're going to, or specific like threats, stuff that counts as assault, like, you're going to attack this person or something like that. Yeah, then I could kind of understand them kind of getting involved and like getting it. So this makes me think that they'll continue doing this on the next sort of hot news topic. If you're saying something that they don't want to looked into. I think for the pandemic, especially I've heard there have been cases where people got their channels like strikes against them or banned for saying something that went against the mainstream news at the time, but then later there was more doubt cast on it, so then it became okay to talk about that. But because they were there first, they got crushed. So yeah, like, and I've heard an analogy. This would be like if you were, like for the Iraq War, if you were someone questioning like the validity of weapons of mass destruction, it looks like if that was happening today, that would have gotten your account banned. So I guess there's going to be more stuff like that. And I can't predict what it's going to be, other than it'll probably be a big news topic. But I could see them kind of restricting. Oh yeah, I could kind of see them kind of purging more people who submit stuff to YouTube too, or videos that, like, yeah, didn't they make a change where like they have to monetize everything? Or yeah, like if your videos weren't monetized, they do monetize. Yeah, I don't know, because a few of my videos, I think that's for people who don't have a YouTube partnership. Like if you're just submitting videos, yeah, and they qualify, yeah, they're putting ads on them and they're collecting the money now. I think that was a newer change. I don't know if, as a YouTube partner, if I still have permission to not have ads on my videos, because a few of mine I don't. Like, I haven't put ads on, well, like the Begathon video, I didn't put any ads on that one. I didn't put any ads like on the Curse Farms Junk channel. Like, Tom did some fundraiser thing, and I just put the stream up of that. I didn't put any ads on that or monetize that. Some of those really short ones, I don't do that. Yeah, like the Freeman's Mind bloopers, I didn't monetize those. So yeah, or the blooper, I might have done like the 2D one, but it seems so short. It seems like there's no point to it. So yeah, if you see ads on, like, well, the Begathon's probably a good litmus test. If you see ads on that, I didn't put them on there. So I don't know, but I imagine there's going to be ongoing pressure for them to make more and more money. So just if somebody just uploads a video and that doesn't earn money, I think someone at YouTube is going to see that as a liability. So they're probably going to come up with more tricks to kind of cull videos, I guess, and just have the profitable stuff. And even then, like, I think they want the really profitable stuff, like so they might squeeze more and more people who are just earning maybe like $10 a month or something from their views, and decide, you know what, this isn't worth it, and they kind of purge them or do something else. So it's I don't, yeah, I don't know. I imagine it's going to be more and more pressure off of that. Yeah, and then with oh yeah, I think I mentioned this last time. They're going to skew more and more towards big copyright holders, I think, because it used to be, yeah, they've changed the process for appealing, because it used to be when if you get a copyright claim, first you dispute it, then if they double down, then you appeal it. And it used to be I could just state the same thing again. Now they make you go through like this multi-layer form where you have to answer multiple questions for it. So they made the process longer for the person defending themselves. And then, even then, I didn't get to this phase, but I've heard before you would, if you got to the final point where you file a counter notification, you could just do it. And now they remove that option for 7 days, so they don't tell you that they've removed that option. So you're literally, your only option that you see is just delete video. But if you wait 7 days, then the option to file a counter notification appears. So to me, that shows an obvious skewing against the defendant if there's a copyright claim. And that's, if you're like, let's say you're just somebody who you really are in violation of copyright, and you just copied some movie, you put it up there and that's it. You're probably gonna back off after the first or second phase. Where they realize, they fired a claim against. You kind of need to know what you're doing to get to that phase. So for them to introduce it there, I think that just shows siding against the little guy. The people who are using it for fair use, or it's a mistaken claim. So it would not shock me if in the future they just remove the option entirely. I mean, maybe that's illegal, but maybe they get legislation passed to make that legal. I don't know. I mean, but if you look at the trend, where the trend's going, what YouTube wants is bigger channels and like legacy media, like, TV stations and stuff like that, and less hassle of dealing with all these small people. So that seems to be the trend that they want. So yeah, I don't know. And I think all kinds of things could change within 15 years outside of YouTube. I mean, it's hard to say. Yeah, like I mentioned in the follow-up video, the fog of badness. Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at things. Okay, I think I've gotten this question before too. Could you name one thing you like and one thing you dislike about living in Poland? And how is my current Polish proficiency? And they're saying dziękuję, which means thank you. My Polish proficiency is still pretty weak. I'm still just trying to focus on nouns and verbs to get up to a caveman level of Polish, but I still know lots of foods. I can more or less read a menu for my Polish. Okay, one thing I like, I don't have to feel like a second-class citizen for not having a car, because car is a pretty big expense. One thing I dislike, it's always my top item, air pollution. Like, it's still pretty bad. Like, it's like, because a lot of people will burn trash, or they'll burn like really cheap coal that just it has a lot of high sulfur content. You can tell that, you can just smell that this stuff's toxic. And the thing is, this is a lot worse. I mentioned this probably a dozen times by now, but this is a lot worse than if it was just a coal power plant, because a coal power plant is going to have some filtration process. But if you're just burning trash or just the nastiest coal imaginable, and then multiply that times every house that does that, which it seems like most of them, then, I mean, then you're talking like Victorian England levels almost. I mean, like, if I go outside, like I pretty much always have to take a shower when I come back, like, even if I'm just out there for a few minutes. Though part of that's me just having a really good sense of smell, which is a curse. And there's a comic I like about that I'll post in the description afterwards. That it mirrors my thoughts on sense of smell exactly. So, but yeah, that's a lot of things in Poland. Like, I feel like if I dislike it, or if it's odd to me, I feel like, well, I'm the foreigner, I'm the one who should adapt. That's one where I feel like, no, Poland needs to change, because it's just, look at an air pollution map of Europe, and you'll see what Poland looks like on there. Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess you said one thing, but another thing I was thinking of was like I don't like the deforestation they're doing either. They're cutting down a lot of trees uh, here, but I mean it's a mix, you know. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, this is one I had to look up. Okay, let's see, maybe I can do it again now. They're asking, oh, white screen there. Hold on. Still have all my windowing. Well, I'm not usually doing this much multitasking, so okay. So the question is, what are your oldest saved game file? Do you still have it in your system? Yeah, like I only started doing like backing up my game saves until like kind of later. I guess once I sort of like a teenager onward, but I checked. Now this could be inaccurate because I remember at one point, like the way I had to back up files because something failed, but the way it copied them, uh, it lost all the timestamps even though it saved the files. So this might not be completely accurate, but let's see. I think the oldest saves I had on, there might be older ones, but it would take me some real detective work to figure out. I think the oldest ones I had were from Eternum, and those are from '93. However, those may not be my save files. Those could have been just ones I downloaded as a convenience because I lost mine. The oldest ones I can say for sure that are mine are from Sanitarium, and those are. Well, here, hold on. Let me find. Okay, my date. Oh, maybe I can search by created and not just modified. Let's try that. Maybe I have some older. I think in like 2011 is when I lost like a ton of timestamps. So let's see. Okay, so but yeah, I do try to save all my save files now. If I think there's like even a remote chance I'll come back to it. Let's see. Okay. Oh no, that's under created. Okay, yeah, these. Yeah, I have like a million of them from 2011, so I'd have to figure out which one was mine. But okay. Yeah. Oh wow, there's one. Is that a save? Oh no. Okay, that's my. I have my key to Half-Life under the save folder. That's from. That's a mistake because that one's dated from 1990. So. Uh, okay. Yeah, it looks like Sanitarium from '98, from May of '98 is the. These ones are definitely mine. After that, I have saves mixed in with like patches and like utilities in the game folder, so I'm trying to separate them. I think we have. Okay, I may have a save from Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed from 2000. There's some Revenant stuff here, but I don't think those are the save files. I have something for. Okay, then it just jumps to. What the hell? This is. Okay, my file. Oh, okay. Those are the wrong dates. I see. Wrong column. Yeah, so I think that's about, yeah. Sanitarium's the safest answer, but maybe Eternum. We'll see. I don't know. I probably wasn't backing up anything in '93. Yeah, I mean, some of these I'll look up for, definitely for some game dungeons if it's a common enough game. Well, yeah, I did that for Journeyman Project. I didn't have my save files, so I was just going through the game again. But that glitch was totally authentic, like, and I realized, oh wow, they actually screwed me from completing the game, and I got lucky downloading a save collection. So I'll do that when I can, when I need to for some games. But okay, more questions. Okay, that somebody watched They Live, the movie. They thought they could see me among the homeless resistance. If you had objective proof that alien infiltrators had taken over the world, would you take up arms or you keep your head down? It really depends. It kind of depends on two things. The first is if I'm not the sort of person who can fight a battle that I personally believe is hopeless. I would need to see some chance of victory, like some path to victory where they could get kind of cut off and I feel like they're isolated. So the mothership isn't coming with endless reinforcements, that sort of thing. So it has to not feel hopeless to me for me to really be part of a resistance movement. Oh, there's a siren going on outside. I don't think you'll catch it though, because this is a directional mic, I think. So yeah, that's the first thing, and then the second thing is, well, what are they doing? For if they're infiltrating, and I think it's been a while since I've seen it, but I think in They Live, it was pretty obvious they were kind of taking over and just trying to use us as, I guess, kind of like minions. I guess I can't remember if it was more sinister than that. See, with They Live, I'd be curious, like, well, how long have they been here? Because, human history, I'm not sure has been a lot better for how they're handling things. So it might be like, well, new boss, same as the old boss. In that case, like, if it's humans that are at the top and they're doing awful things or running society in a terrible way, versus aliens at the top doing awful things, running things that awful way, I'm not sure I care that much, whether it's human or alien, if the results are the same, so that would kind of kill my morale too. But like, let's say there were aliens getting infiltrated, but they were doing stuff like, let's say they only get involved if they think we're going to have a nuclear war, for example, or they're trying to prevent some catastrophe. Well, then it's like, well, no, I think I'd want to like leave the aliens in there to kind of step in if things get too crazy, act as guardrails. Well, yeah, I had clips from it in the Messiah episode. What was it? I think it's like Real Men. I think that was the name of the movie with James Belushi and was it Tom? I forgot his first name. Somebody Ritter. They were in contact with the aliens, and the big dilemma was to get the aliens were either going to give the good package, which would clean up all the pollution on Earth that was set to destroy it, or the big gun, which was a gun so powerful it could destroy a planet, and there was a big faction fight. Not only in the movie, not only was it the CIA versus or the USA versus the Russians, or it might have been the Soviets then. I forget when that movie came out. But it was also within the CIA, there was also a split faction between people who wanted the big gun versus wanted the good package. And I thought, man, that held up really well. Like, for the kind of mentality to expect. So it's like they had a double fight on their hands to try to, I think they were in the minority to try to get so the aliens were definitely intervening in that way. Benevolent aliens is an underused trope. Yeah, I guess it depends on, it takes more work to make a good movie with or a story with benevolent aliens. You have to put more thought into it. Whereas if they're hostile, you can make something pretty good without and have it still be pretty simple. You know. So yeah, I mean, I guess if I saw a path to victory and I thought I could kind of do this in a smart way, then sure, I could be resistance. Like I would. I wouldn't want to do a lot of like big open conflicts. I'd rather approach it like kind of disappear individuals when they're out of range. I'd want a lot of intel on like what the aliens are, what can they detect, what they're capable of, that sort of thing, so I can kind of go under the radar. I'd rather be much more underground with what I'm doing. It's but yeah, it would have to not feel hopeless, and I'd have to be convinced that what they're doing is they're handling things even worse than what humans would do. So those would be my two criteria. Let's see. Oh, okay. They're multi-instrumentalist producer. They want to do multiple versions of the Game Dungeon theme for me, like an acoustic version or heavily electronic version. Well, I don't know. The Game Dungeon theme kind of came out how I wanted it to. I guess one of the other themes that I was, one of the themes that I consider sort of a unofficial Game Dungeon theme is that I think it was like either the credits or the continue music. No, it was the select stage music for Carnival. It's like do 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 do. I feel like that fits the mood pretty well for what I want for Game Dungeon. No, for I'd want to. I wouldn't really want you to do game. I mean, you can do Game Dungeon if you want, but if you're doing it for me, I'd want you to pick a theme that like I would want to. That like I feel like it's something where I feel like they had a great theme, but there's a problem with the original. Like, well, again, I mentioned before, like a lot of MIDI music covers would probably be really good candidates. But Tyler McVigor's in the chat. Okay, I was mentioning you earlier, Tyler. He can weigh in. I was saying you're the one. People can ask Tyler about what happens to Valve if Gabe kicks the bucket. What are his best guesses? I said you probably have better guesses than I do. So, but no, one I mentioned I think I mentioned before was the Quake 2 cinematic music, where there's like the even then this is like a multi-stage thing because there's the opening symphony part by Bill Brown. I think that part is available online, but I'm talking about like once the pod drops and you're coming down to the planet. That part's awesome. I think I heard Rob Zombie compose that. I have not heard a version of that that's isolated from the game audio, where it's because I guess it'd be more of a cover rather than a different version because you hear all the radio chatter, and plus that was probably a 22 kilohertz or something. I'd like to hear that version of it. Yeah. Reestablish communication, priority alpha. Okay, we're getting a more in-depth answer from Tyler. He's saying Gabe's a figurehead. Eric Johnson, Liam Lowry, Robin Walker, and Greg Coomer actually run the company. Well, let's hope they don't go public. Is what I was saying, or sell to a bigger company. I like the answer. We'd hook them up to a life support throne like in 40K. Yeah. That's your real long-term solution there. But yeah, I'd have to think of some other covers I'd want. I heard a pretty good one, but I think the game Teen Agent has some pretty ripe tracks that would be like you'd want to hear another rendition of. But if your big thing is like a different style, I'd have to think about it, because there probably are tracks I would want to hear like a metal version of, or more like an acoustic version of. Another one came up recently. I was noticed these were just sort of small themes, but I thought they were really nice. I was noticing in some of the cutscenes to Serious Sam 2, there's actually some really nice music hidden in there for some of them. But they don't last very long at all. But again, it's covered by like sound effects and dialogue and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can make a cover of the Game Dungeon theme if you want to, but it's not. I more or less got that how I wanted it. So, that would be for yourself or others if you did that. If you want to do stuff for me, I'll try and think of some more tracks to that I think would be like prime candidates for covers. To okay, great. Tyler says all 4 of the many listed off would have to retire or pass away from any chance of selling or going public. Great. So it sounds like they'll survive for a while then, or survive in a not public form, but publicly traded. Yeah, it's not that something public is bad. It's that something publicly traded is when everything goes to hell. Because I mean, you can have. I mean, you like a. I'm trying to think of it. Examples, like if it's like a publicly run nonprofit organization, well, those can be good. But when it's publicly traded, that's when the order of the day is make as much money as possible at all costs. So when you're private or you're nonprofit, then you don't have that that directive basically. So you just need to make enough to keep the lights on. It's a big difference. Okay, so I'll think some more about themes. Maybe I can have a list for next time that I would want different versions of. Or okay, I think there's another question I've answered. They're asking about the 1-inch scar above my carotid artery. Okay, which side? I always forget which side it's on. It's on this one, or because I can't see it. I think. Let's see. I can't tell. Well, they're asking about my neck scar where I almost died. I should make up a better story, but the reality was I was a kid who's like, I was opening this door that I had opened maybe 100 times. And if I hit the handle just right, it was a screen door, it would swing open as I was running, and I would keep running without having to lose my momentum. Well, I didn't hit it just right, and it didn't open, and instead I went thud into it, and that ripple caused the glass to shatter and rain down on me. And that sliced me up pretty good. That's how I got this scar. Let's see, can we see that in the camera? Not really, the lighting's not so good. Yeah, notice how the hairline sort of stops there. That's what the scar is. Yeah, I think that one's about 8 inches. now. But yeah, I almost died from that one. That's one of my earlier memories. I think I was about 5 when that happened. So, that's the story on that. I've had other injuries too. Like I think they're mostly as a kid. Like the discoloration from my knee, that one happened from when I hit some sort of animal on my bike. To this day, I don't know what it was. It would take me too much time to dig it out right now. I actually made a drawing of that afterwards, so maybe I can show it to you on the next video chat. I don't know what it was. It had to be either like a cat or a groundhog. It was about that size. I was going fast around this curve and it just darted out from the grass out of nowhere. There's nothing I could have done. It just, bam, it threw me off of there and I shredded myself on the pavement. pretty well. Got, asphalt embedded in me. Let's see. The part of my tongue, let's see. Yeah, you can sort of see it's like a little off there. That's from falling down the stairs as a kid. And I hit face first on like this metal chest where like the corner cut into it deeply. There's some other injuries I've had. Well, I got really lucky on one. I think I mentioned, I don't think there's any bruises or obvious, hopefully not permanent damage from this one, but I got lucky where I built my own zip line where I climbed way up in a tree and tied a rope towards one end and then went and tied it to the other end. And what I did was around the rope, I put a PVC pipe so where I could just kind of fling that from one end, kind of lock it into place with the knots, and then just hold on to that to kind of zip along there. Well, in my infinite wisdom, I wasn't factoring in the friction from the rope burn. So that was slowly burning through the pipe each time I used it. So at one point, I'm just going, then just kink, and it snapped. And I just fell flat. Thankfully, I think I was over halfway through the process, and I fell flat on my back. I think it knocked the wind out of me, but it was just on grass. I might have even been a little mossy. So and I was over halfway through the slide, the line there. So if that had happened at the start, that could have been really bad. But thankfully, dumb luck saved me on that one. So I only got the wind knocked out of me, and got a hard physics lesson that one. Let's see. Yeah, no, the rope didn't sever. It burned through the pipe is what happened from the friction, from the bumps in the rope. The rope was pretty thick. I knew enough to do that, but yeah, I mean, I've really tested the rope too. Like even once I tied it, like I didn't just give it a tug. I was giving it like really putting my full body weight on it multiple times to give a sense of like how sturdy this felt. Because even though I was a kid, I could still get like a sense of how sturdy something felt. But the PVC pipe was my blind side. It didn't occur to me that of the friction burn that would eat through it. Let's see. Okay, so more questions. Oh yeah. Okay, they're asking about me wanting to organize my music, and they wanted to know more about like my end goal. Yeah, it's less about it's not so much about like what folder it's in by album or year, stuff like that. That's just for me finding it. Yeah, okay, so the end goal of this is when I listen to music, I don't really want to have to think about what I want to listen to too much. I just want to like hit a button really. But so I want to have done my thinking ahead of time. And the idea here is I want to just pick like general themes where the music, if I were to put it in there, it sort of goes together. Like it might be kind of like light or almost meditative or something, or it might be just kind of rock, but it's kind of upbeats, or stuff that's like within a certain tempo range or something like that. So like how in was like the Grand Theft Auto games, like you can select different radio stations, and one's playing reggae, another one might be playing like kind of spacey electronic music, another one's going to be like classic rock. I want something like that, except for soundtracks. And the thing is, because I was mostly coming up with my own sort of custom genres that for like other music, like rock, metal, a lot of electronic, that more or less fit for me. But soundtracks are just where it would fall apart because there's so much variety that like, it's like I might have like, some might sound like medieval battle music, another thing might be like rock, like upbeat rock. Another might be just this kind of peaceful music, but it's sad. Another might be peaceful music, but it's more upbeat. Or yeah, like stuff like Rama. Like Rama would probably like that. I feel like that would be like a certain district in itself. So this is a super subjective thing. However, I haven't seen much thought about. I haven't seen much thought. I like if I could see another person trying to sort music along these lines, that would probably give me a lot of ideas. So that even if maybe their system wouldn't fit mine exactly, if I could see what they were doing, then I could apply stuff to that. Like, so I was making some broad categories that I thought would work, but then I would run into stumper tracks that I wasn't sure how to handle. And I was tempted to do a stream on this. It's just I'm worried this would just be a copyright landmine, a copyright minefield to try to just play samples and discuss like, oh, okay, how would we sort that? Let's see. So it's not about the technical process. This is much more of just a conceptual question. Like, okay, I mean, if you want more details on it, just send me an email, rosswscott@gmail.com. I'll send you the form email I've been sending to everybody curious about this, where I'll show you my progress so far, basically, and give a lot of examples of the stumper tracks of like where I just wasn't sure how to place it. One thing I was leaning towards, because I kind of want as few categories as possible, but as many as there need to be. So it would probably be a couple dozen, just because there's so much variety in soundtracks. But I don't want to have like hundreds of categories if I can avoid it. Like the type of instrument used is important, because like say you're listening to, say you're something that's like lively, but it sounds like instruments that sound like they're out of the Middle Ages. And then you have something that has a similar tone as lively, but it's like 8-bit saw waves or something, or like you can sometimes hear this just even on like with console music. The sound of like Genesis music or Super Nintendo is going to be pretty different than stuff that came later, where you might have like a symphony orchestra or something like that. And it's like instruments matter somewhat, but like big separations can matter. But tempo is really important, I think. I think I have like 4 general categories for tempo, where it's like stuff that's like really calm, stuff that's just kind of chill, stuff that's a little more lively or with the pace. And then I think at like the top level, it would only be stuff I would listen to if I was like playing a racing game or something. Or it's like, because I usually don't listen to stuff that's like really fast unless it's like within a racing environment. But yeah, the mood was super important. Like if it's this sort of neutral, is this sort of positive, or does it blend the two? Like I had one of my categories was music that felt like it would be appropriate for like a dystopia or some sort of empire. Like I had some tracks from Half-Life were sorted in there. Okay, somebody has the Boy and His Blob theme in his head now. Yeah, it's like I can't remember. I think I'm mixing up a Boy and His Blob with Kirby with the soundtrack. Because I was about to hum it, but I realized, no, wait, I think that's Kirby. So it's been a long time since I've played or seen a Boy and His Blob. But yeah, but I was thinking sorting things by theme might be better than strictly by genre too. Because I was thinking, one of my categories was music that might be playing at a cafe from the future. So that could have a blend of like some electronic, some like rock or alternative stuff, but it probably wouldn't be too fast. It just has kind of like a more chill mood, what was the sort of image I had in my head. Or You have to pull up. I'm trying to remember some other ones. Ones that were like kind of calm but sad sounding. I had like some Silent Hill music in there. Trying to think of some other ones. I'm sure I would recognize the Boy and His Blob theme if I heard it again, but it's, or if I just sat down and like really thought about it a long time, I might be able to remember it. But yeah, stuff from that's NES music. That's probably not going to blend so well with like symphony music, unless you had like a theme where it makes sense. Oh yeah, that was another theme I had. Stuff that sounded like it would fit in well in deep space. So if you were playing like a space sim game, what music would just sort of fit? You know, see, this is a very subjective thing, but I feel like that's like a good, like kind of anchor point to kind of figure it out. So if I can figure out what my categories are, everything's going to fall into place. So yeah, it's definitely like what's the word? I want to say philosophical question, not exact. I want to go that far, but just your approach to how you view music question, not a technical one. Although I see this is the one that has me hung up. The alternative to this is if AI gets really good, or somebody emailed me about this. I need to dig up that email. There might be options now I just need to run down. The alternative is AI, if I'm sure it's good enough that it could just look at a track, just say, okay, well, I want music that sounds like this track. It would look at that and then just would look at your collection and would just kind of branch out from stuff that it thought was the most similar. And AI for sure is good enough to do that now. The big hang up is most of the solutions that do that are all in private companies where it's like streaming only and it's only from their collection. Whereas I have, with soundtracks especially, I have loads of music that's not in any mainstream database, like the Sin soundtrack, or like, again, Rama, or mentioning earlier, Sanitarium. That's not going to be in any like catalog for this stuff. So I have a whole chunk of music that's like that. So I would have to have like machine learning that you could apply to your own local collection. So yeah, if AI could, that's the alternative method. I had sort of given up on that, but I need to dig up that email. I filed it for something to come back to, but I haven't come back to it yet. Okay, so I'm going to answer some more questions. They're saying both Spider-Bot and the Bip-Bop game lack music, though you added music to the Bip-Bop video. Was it for the sake of conveying the tone you were personally getting from the game? Yeah, well, I felt like it was more watchable with that. And if I had like a big bank of music, I would add it to more. But I was just sort of running dry for what I could use to kind of add to it. And I actually found that as to be like one of the hardest aspects of like the whole video, because it would just take so much thought and experimenting to get like the right music that it ended up not being worth it for me. I thought I could make some episodes better, but I just sort of gave up is what happened, because it was just too much work. But because no, I think it can really help videos, but the movie will have a good soundtrack, so I'll have a lot of it composed for the movie. So okay, are there any particular movies or directors that have been a big inspiration for your movie? Well, there's some movies I'm borrowing from. I can't remember if I mentioned this on one of the interviews or not. I think I don't want to reveal like every last movie I'm taking inspiration from. It's probably like half a dozen of them. However, one thing I will reveal, because it's not really much of a spoiler, in terms of the cinematography, I am not the most experienced filmmaker. You know, I mean, I made the Civil Protection stuff. I was mostly just kind of using my intuition for that. And I'm not formally trained in like what you should be using for film and stuff. And while I will try to brush up on that more for the movie, it'd still be kind of amateurish. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cheat a bit, which is to say, my plan was I was going to rewatch one of my favorite adventure movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, directed by Spielberg, and just take notes of everything he's doing. So it's like, okay, for this kind of scene, is this a slow scene, a fast scene? Okay. Oh yeah, that's another thing I barely have any experience with is depth of field, blurring the background. So I'm gonna see like, okay, well, how is he framing this shot? What kind of depth of field does he have? That sort of thing. Because I'm thinking, if my movie feels like Indiana Jones, like in terms of cinematography, then I can't ask for much better than that. So I'm probably gonna be copying Spielberg's cinematography style to a degree. I mean, not to like a ridiculous level, but I'm just gonna go through and take a lot of notes and see if I can spot patterns, and then mix that with, well, what feels right to me with how I should have. Usually when I'm making the videos, I'm just going by like, feels like I should have a cut here. It's like, okay, I think, well, if we're having these angles, I think we should have this angle next, or maybe go back to this angle. So I'm gonna use my, oh no, they added a tint to the newer versions of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't seen it in a long time. I watched it a ton as a kid. Yeah, the last time I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, it might have been on VHS. So that would, so I figure Spielberg knows what he's doing for making an adventure movie. So I'm going to take a lot of notes for cinematography from that. And plus, I feel like, again, that's one of my favorite adventure movies. And there's some things, newer ones added, not all of them added later, that I don't like. For instance, I really don't like zoom in and shake the camera around. Unless it really makes sense. Like if there's well, no, I don't like that at all, because you can shake the camera around, like let's say a big explosion goes off, or you just, well, okay, I guess you could use that if you were like if you wanted like a POV shot and the character just got punched and you want to convey that. Basically, I only want that if I'm intentionally trying to convey disorientation. That's like, to me, that's like the only good use of it. But I think it was like the Bourne Identity. They added like a lot of really tight shots for fight scenes. And I think it worked for that movie, but then a lot of action movies or adventure movies started copying that, and I hated it. Or like the movie Cloverfield, which is all meant to have like this sort of found footage style. But it's like, I remember when the movie was pretty cool, but like the cinematography, I hated it. It's like we couldn't have struck a balance between like realistic shaking the camera around versus make this a little more digestible for the viewer, So I'm thinking Raiders of the Lost Ark predates a lot of that crap. So if the cinematography is a little more dated style, then that's fine, because then I'm staying on the safe side of things. So, yeah, I don't want to give too many hints of what the movie's going to be about, though. So, but technical details, I'm fine with talking about that. So yeah, I'll probably use. It's not that I think Spielberg's like the greatest director ever, but it's more like Spielberg is a very safe choice for if you want to make a solid like adventure movie, some beats to copy. Like I think some aspects of Spielberg get a little too hokey for my taste, but he definitely gets a lot of fundamentals right. So I figure that's a very safe choice for me to be working with. Like I don't. My movie is not going to be as heartwarming as Spielberg stuff. It's gonna there's gonna be left because a lot of Spielberg's movies tend to have that kind of well, I guess not all of them. They kind of have that kind of like life affirming tone to them or something. I want there to be more uncertainty in my movies. So okay. Oh, we have a long question here. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm kind of skimming over this a bit. I saw some of it earlier. I got a little confused by what he was asking, but he's they brought up how on Deus Ex and Human Revolution. Well, he's saying like Deus Ex was what focused on like the first one, like it had like a strong backdrop of terrorism. It did, but it had a whole lot of other stuff going on too. And they're talking about since the implicit goal is to try and make everyone carry some sort of input on these issues and fall into place on a certain perspective as part of their personalities, rather than simply generating conversation. Yeah, see, there was more organic, there were conversations also in Deus Ex, whereas it just felt like there was none of that in Human Revolution. Um, so, yeah, I mean, because that's a good point. Like, I think that's a huge aspect of what helps make a world feel real is if you do just have conversations that don't have to be about you know the topic at hand, but could be quite interesting in themselves. Okay, so the question. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, he's. I think. Okay, I apologize if I'm misreading it, but this is a longer one that I got a little confused by. Uh, it seems like he's noticing a similar pattern with the news, like how they'll just be like hyper focused on a topic, move to something else, then to that topic, and then to another topic, sort of thing, and it just sort of drowns out other stuff. Again, I apologize if I misread this. Um, are you seeing a pattern where these topics of interest are being so heavily pushed and becoming a part of daily life, or do you find yourself constantly trying to filter it out? Um, well, I don't. I'd say I don't really escape these necessarily, but I think in my daily life probably filters out enough of it just normally because I tend to not pursue a lot. If a topic's not of a lot of interest to me and I feel like it's not super important that I personally know about all the details of, then I probably don't look into it much more than just kind of some surface level stuff. Ukraine I did a little more because I will that's closer to me where I am, and also World War III is not good. We don't want that. So I did a little more research on that, and that's where I found that it was just like it's like I had to do research on the research, and I sort of hit my limit with what I wanted to look up on it. Um, but yeah, no, the news is definitely gone for all or nothing approach on topics that like other things just can get drowned out completely. Like some big topics that I thought didn't get much attention were I think it was like in the Arctic, I think like a month ago, they had readings that were up to 90 degrees higher than like in anything previously recorded. That's newsworthy. And I think in the Antarctic, this ice shelf that they thought was safe collapsed, and that's also newsworthy, I think. And there's probably all kinds of news I'm missing. So yeah, I don't really like the hyper focus on stuff, unless I feel like it's no, I don't really like hyper focus because I feel like at best, like let's say, I mean, like the big topics that have been covered. I feel like at best that should maybe take up like half the news, but there's still other things going on that are worthy of coverage. But again, it's like with YouTube, they're kind of wanting to abandon the smaller stuff, just go all in on the big stuff. So they decide what they want to cover, and they sure stick to it. So I don't think that's I don't think that's helpful for understanding everything that's going on in the world. But okay, next question. Sorry if sorry if I lost the thread on that question though. In games, do you prefer energy weapons or kinetic weapons? I think both can be great. I prefer stuff that does a lot of damage. Like I was thinking, because with kinetic, I was thinking of those grenades and Strife that bounced around, but boy, they packed a punch. But with that energy weapons, yeah, I think with energy weapons, you should only have stuff that does a lot of damage. So if you have a plasma rifle, you shoot the enemy and the plasma ball goes straight through them, then that's probably a pretty good weapon. Yeah, I'm a fan of weapons that do a lot of damage. So I'm not too picky about what they're for. I don't like shooting a shotgun at an enemy. It takes like 4 shots or something like that. Unless they look like they're armored like a complete tank, you know. Have you considered posting this stuff you post on Twitter to YouTube community tab? Not everybody uses Twitter. I didn't realize that was an option. I will look into that. If it's as simple, I'll try to do more of that then. I usually don't post anything too important on Twitter anyway. It's usually just general announcements or articles I find interesting, or like free game. Sometimes there'll be like a game will be free to own for like 24 hours or 2 days or something. Although even that, I stopped mentioning the epic ones because they do it every single week, and people were split on the. Some people didn't want me talking about that, others did. So I figured, you know what? It's not like they're paying me to do this. So I just dropped the epic one. I mean, I still check it and claim games. Yeah, like right now there's some pretty good ones. I think Total War Warhammer is free to own on Epic, and City of Brass. So, but yeah, there was another, but I'll post random stuff I find interesting too. Like I think the most recent one I did was I think it was in the UK. The police busted this guy for stealing bicycles because he has so many piled up in his backyard that they noticed it on Google Maps from the satellite view. And you could see like this row of houses, normal backyard. His house, it was completely filled gray, like from all the stacked up bicycles. And this guy had just hundreds upon hundreds of bicycles in his yard. And a lot of them were, I think they said a lot of them were years old. So he may not have even been a fence. He could have just been some klepto stealing the bicycles. I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure why he was sort of. Yeah, I mean, if I was his defense, I would make a strong argument that this is a psychological thing and he should just get treatment, not throw the book at him. Because, I mean, if you have hundreds of bicycles in your yard and you're not selling them and they're all stolen, there's a compelling argument that you just have psychological problems, you know. That might be a decent defense. Let's see, something else. Oh, yeah, there was one I did my first retweet ever because I don't use Twitter that much. And that was like a month or two ago, where a guy was posting a video clip from one of the Forza Horizons, I think, where he was going real fast. He was in the lead. He did this jump, like right before the finish line. And then out of like nowhere, another car lands literally on top of his car. So now he's carrying that car that's on top of him. Then he goes over the finish line. It's like a slow motion of the car on top of it. And then it just comes in second. And then the Twitter comment was, I'd delete the game. Like, It's a fantastic clip. I'll link to that too. It was, yeah, it was amazing. Like, so yeah, that's so yeah, so free games being handed out for free, stuff like that, and uh, general news. Well, not general news. General news related to my videos. I'll occasionally have other stuff, like if Microsoft is doing something insane, like I sometimes post articles on that. There was one I did not too long, like a month ago. They did something noteworthy, I remember, but I forget what it was. It's on the tip of my tongue. I have to look at my Twitter, but I don't post like every day or anything like that. It's usually like maybe half a dozen times a month, something like that. Yeah, I don't spend much time on Twitter, but I'll try to look in the YouTube community, see if it works similarly. Social media stuff tends to take like the lowest priority for me. Sorry. Cute. What's your opinion on mechanical keyboards? Does any keyboard do? Is tactile feedback a must-have for writing, or would a second row of function keys, F13, F24, be a good selling point? Yeah, on that last part, I was gonna mention that in the GUI follow-up. I'm definitely thinking we should bring them back, the F13, the F24, because that's all unclaimed territory for shortcuts. Nobody's using that, so we could use them for anything. And like, I mean, because they had those like way back when, like in the 80s or so, but those fell out of style. I think we should bring them back. For mechanical keyboards, they're nice. I like how they feel. They're not like a must-have thing. It's just like a slightly nicer thing. I mean, if you told me I could only use like rubber dome keyboards, I'd think, okay, you know, it's not a huge. I mean, I have a mechanical keyboard. I think I have the brown Cherry MX switches. I like the feel of the blue ones, but they're loud. So, and I still want an analog keypad, because that would just be for gaming, or for something I wanted analog control over. But I think Razer has one, but I've been trying to boycott them because Razer has DRM on their devices, where you don't get the full functionality unless you create an account and then sign in and down. It's not even to download it. It's just to even unlock it, essentially. I don't like how DRM has that, but yeah, if somebody had keys that, yeah, the browns are sort of a compromise. If somebody had one that felt like the blues or the IBM, was it Model M ones, but were quiet magically, that I might like that. So, yeah, but I mean, it's a nice thing, but it doesn't. But yeah, I would definitely like to see. Let's see F13 to F24 make a comeback. Like really, like. Yeah. Because only enthusiasts are going to buy those. So that means not too many programs aren't going to map them out so that you can use those for anything. So that would be nice. In fact, I'm also going to mention this in the GUI follow-up. I'm tempted to get just a custom keypad anyway, where I could just map it to a bunch of macros. Yeah, I actually had the Model M for a while. I probably got that cheaper than anyone. I didn't even know what I had. I went to a thrift store. I think I got that for 30 cents. It might have been $1. It might have been, and I didn't even know what I had. It's just that I just typed on all the keyboards they had in the junk bin, and I liked the feel of that one the best. And then I found out later that this was like more of a collector's item, and they weren't manufacturing these anymore. Unfortunately, it didn't fully survive my trip, the plane trip coming back to Poland. but even then it was pretty loud too. So, and I actually am using the Windows hotkey now. Now that I can keep it from triggering the start menu by accident, I'm using that in combination with display fusion and numbers to like put a window on the left side or the right side or that sort of, or split it into thirds, that sort of thing. Okay, I may start getting pickier with the questions now. Let's see. Okay, so I was asking about the kickers. They're saying if I know and have that all planned out ahead of time. Sometimes that usually, sometime I finished the video and I still don't know what I'm gonna put for a kicker. Like a lot of the times that happens within the game, and then I see something that just jumps out at me. Like I think one of my favorites was A New Beginning, where that was just a complete where it just screwed up with the depth, and I just have him walking off into infinity inside his house, and like that was not planned, but wow, that was great. It's like I knew I wanted to show that somewhere. So yeah, Svensson, where are you going, Svensson? Yeah, that was one of my favorites. So yeah, I frequently don't know what the kicker is going to be. Yeah, I can say this on the next game dungeon. I didn't know it until almost the very end. So other times there's competition for what I should have for the kicker. So after the movie, is there a chance for a new series, Machinima? Yeah, there is, but I have to see where my mind's at by that point. Like maybe I've gotten a lot of help and it's even easier to animate. So, and then I'll be in the mood, or maybe I'll never want to animate anything ever again. It's a possibility. I can't predict, but yeah, for sure. Idea wise, it's not going to be a problem. It's just with animation, I don't have a love of it. It's like a necessary evil for me. Okay, sorry, I'm going to skip some more questions. Let's see. Do you have any memorable fourth wall breaking while playing a game or watching a movie? Well, I only watched a playthrough of it, but I know like an infamous one for games is in Metal Gear Solid. I think with Psycho Mantis, he'll comment on how you've been playing the game. For watching a movie, one of my favorites is actually in Austin Powers, when Austin's seeing a potential plot hole at the time travel, then he gets confused, and then his handler is saying, it's just like, Austin, I suggest you don't worry about it and just try to enjoy yourself. And then he looks right at the camera, and that goes for you too. Like, the timing was great. Spaceballs has a great one where they go and like rewind the tape to look at it, and they create, I think, like an infinite cascade of like looking at like a TV through a camera, through a TV, and then like they're turning back to like look behind them at the camera. That one's a real classic. I'm trying to think of some other good. Good fourth wall breaks. Yeah, I generally like. I don't think I'm going to do that for Freeman's Mind. I tend to be real picky on fourth wall breaking. Like if it's, well, Deadpool has he does that constantly with Deadpool. It's more like I feel like you have to really do it right. You can't take it too seriously if you're breaking the fourth wall usually. Yeah, somebody's saying Stanley Parable. I forget. Yeah, we got a Spaceballs quote. You idiots! They're not them. You've captured their stunt doubles. Actually, there's another comedy. I bet a lot of you have not seen this. It it played on, I think, PBS. It was this short comedy show. It was I think it was a British one. Phil and Arthur go off to Loch Ness. It's goofy, and they have some fourth wall breaking stuff with the stunt double where it's funny. And like, I think the actor involved in that ended up putting that on YouTube a few years ago. I'll give a link to that. So yeah, this might be a treat for you if you haven't seen it. If you like sort of like goofy, yeah, it's like goofy 80s BBC comedy. It's pretty well done, I think. Like, I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. Like, Phil and Arthur. I'll definitely put a link to it in the description. So yeah, they did some others too. I thought those weren't nearly as good. Basically, it's like this real low budget kind of documentary spoof where they're going to try to investigate the existence of the Loch Ness monster. And like, I'm trying to, yeah, somebody's saying Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy-esque. Like, they have this stunt double that they get that doesn't look like them, but they've already paid for them, so they try to figure out ways to have them appear in it. And then they can't, for contract reasons, they can't have them say anything, so just have him go like, bah, 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 with his mouth, and then they dub over him. It's goofy. There's something... Yeah, like I would say it's like on like UHF level goofiness, but it's fun. I liked it. Yeah, so you might have a treat if you like that sort of thing. Let's see. Yeah, I would call it a hidden gem, really, for comedy, because good comedy can be hard to come by, but there's a lot of funny moments in it. So, how's your Star Trek viewings going? They've been binging on Star Trek the last couple of years myself. I still need to catch up on, and well, I did end up watching Picard, but yeah, it wasn't good. It's like there. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this, but like the analogy, it feels like they're just parading around a corpse with the writing. I mean, it's not that they're too old; it's that the writing is no good. That's the problem. It's like, I mean, even among Star Trek, there's fans of different aspects of it. Like, there's some people who really like. I'm kind of mystified by. Well, I guess they like the more space opera type stuff where there's like some negotiations and diplomacy on some planet. That was never really my thing, or like deeper stuff with the characters. One viewer said it best. What I'm there for is anomaly of the week. That's what I like about Star Trek is no one has gone before. That was the big draw for me. But some people like the alien culture stuff. I feel like Picard isn't delivering on any of them because it's like, okay, for the people who really like the characters and want to see more of their story, well, it's not smartly written. You know, I feel like they had some good stuff going on in it, and then it just completely fell apart. Like the robot uprising, that sounded interesting, but then we just don't go anywhere with that. Or like them exploring the technology of a Borg cube. Well, that could lead us to interesting places, but then they don't really take it anywhere that interesting, or it's just kind of dumb what they do with it. Or the mystery assassins. Okay, well you could maybe make that interesting, but they don't. I mean, it was pretty disappointing, I thought. But I mean, I'm not number one Star Trek fan, but like what I want out of Star Trek is just fine, get them back in a ship and let's go find some anomalies. You know, that's what I want out of it. And different Star Trek fans are going to want different things, but I'm not sure it's delivering for anyone. So, okay, next question. they're on a sci-fi binge, and here you can mention in the chat. They can look at the chat text later. They're looking for sci-fi book or movie recommendations or shows. They'll take anything, like good sci-fi, and they've seen Dune. I don't know what RWR stands for. The Foundation series, all of H.G. Wells, Andy Weir. I guess check out for books. Check out Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. That has a lot of interesting ideas in it. It sounds like you might be more into like the going out in space stuff. Okay, somebody's mentioning the Orville. I still need to see that. I was going to recommend they said now they've watched a bunch. Apparently, Next Generation is now their favorite show of all time. Okay, so that sounds like their anchor point for what they should. Voyager is kind of like, I would call it like diet Next Generation. It's not as good as Next Generation, but if you're hungry for more Star Trek, then it'll keep you satiated. I'd say, it's not as good, but it's if you're desperate for more decent Star Trek, you can get by on Voyager. Let's see. I'd recommend Farscape. I still haven't finished it, but I'm like in the last season. It gets a little weaker later on, but the earlier episodes especially, there's lots of interesting sci-fi stuff going on there. So if you like the sort of weird things happening out in space and not sure what's going to happen next, I'd say Farscape's pretty good for that. Somebody's saying Deep Space Nine is the best Star Trek series. You're going to make me pull out that comic again. Maybe I can find it now. It was by Virtual Shackles was the comic creator. I think I pulled a link of it before. I'm just curious if I can. No, it doesn't show up from an image search. It'd take me more time to dig it up. It reflected my views on Deep Space Nine. Let's see. Somebody's recommended that to me also. Is Lex. I know nothing about it, but it's been I've heard it gets weird. That's still on my to watch. I watched the first episode and I wasn't getting into it, but maybe I didn't give it enough time. A lot of people like Babylon 5. Maybe I need to stick with it more. One you might like if you like Star Trek. I mean, it's different. It's the Battlestar Galactica remake, the one that came out in the 2000s. It's certainly it's a mix. It's definitely a different style because there's some stuff where it tends to meander. Like I'd say with Battlestar Galactica, if you're getting bored by a certain scene and you're wondering if this is important or can I skip it, just go ahead and skip it, and just get back to like the more interesting stuff going on. Would be my advice for that. You're not gonna miss anything super important. And a bit of a spoiler, it's one of those shows where once you've seen all of it, you're still not entirely sure what happened. I mean, maybe they explained it, or maybe I was too obtuse to get it all, but it has cool style for it. There's a lot of cool scenarios they run into. They try to treat their own lore and stuff seriously, like all these characters are acting like this is a pretty serious situation. And so somebody posted the hierarchy of Star Trek that I'd probably agree with. Yeah, Daniel. He has a controversial view of Star Trek. That's probably how I'd rate it too. He has Next Generation, then the original series, then Voyager, then Enterprise, then Deep Space Nine. So the original series has a lot of good ones. However, that might be too hokey for you. I don't know, but there's a lot of good episodes in there. But however, if you want in between, you might want to watch the original Star Trek movie. That one, again, it's not like the best Star Trek, but that one is a trip. So if you want, like that one outdoes, like, geez, maybe even the series as far as like, let's get weird with it. Yeah, that one's an experience to watch. Again, it's not my favorite, but like it's interesting. So if the original series is too hokey for you, that one's less hokey. That one's much more serious, and it's just a complete trip. So, yeah, let's see. So yeah, he's just looking for science fiction recommendations in general. Though it sounds like he's leaning towards like the space societies kind of sci-fi stuff. I'm trying to think of some other classics. Well, see, I need to catch up on a lot myself. I mean, Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke are big names. Oh, you know what you might want to do is look up for books. Look up who won the Hugo Award. I've heard the quality might have gone downhill since then, but there's a lot of good old science fiction too. And just start going by year. Like look up what books or authors were winning the Hugo Awards, and that's usually some pretty top shelf stuff. So yeah, someone's mentioned Philip K. Dick. Yeah, Philip K. Dick might have more sci-fi adaptations than anyone. Yeah, Harlan Ellison's another author you might want to look into. Okay, someone's saying The Stars, My Destination is a book. Oh, here, I'll check it. Check it out myself. Yeah, someone also recommended from emails. Someone recommended to me Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. That's one I plan to look into. Oh man, I forgot the title of it. If you want another one it's kind of mind-bending, like trying to conceptualize it. It's all about the fourth dimension. What the hell was the name of it? I forgot the name of it. I probably mentioned it on a previous video chat. I'd recognize it. Let's see. Top 10 four-dimensional novels. It's probably on the list. Was it Flatland? It might have been Flatland. Yeah, that one's. It gets hard trying to conceptualize it. Yeah, I think that's the one. I think it's the one that takes place in L.A. and then they reach out to him. Yeah, I think it was Flatland. Okay, yeah, that one's weird. Ross, you like obscure stuff, correct? Well, I don't like stuff because it's obscure. I like obscure stuff that's also good or very interesting. Like I remember it was in this comic I read before called Bear. It was pretty good. They said it was in this comic I read before called Bear. It was pretty good. I accidentally turned on my Twitch stream. It was in this and then with the audio overriding it. This guy works at a record store or music, and he was saying, I think he was trying to get a date, and he's saying, it's just like, oh, I can hook you up with a lot of obscure band music, even though there's really good reasons they're obscure. I can hook you up with a lot of and unfortunately that can be the case a lot of the time. But yeah, I like hidden gems. I would consider that Phil and Arthur go off the Loch
unfortunately, that can be
Ness
the case a lot of the time. But
hidden
yeah,
gem.
I like hidden gems.
So it's like every once in a while you get something good that just got overlooked. So that's my interest. Oh, echo.
You get something good
sorry.
that just got overlooked.
That's my interest. I thought I muted it. I guess I unmuted it. Okay, that should have fixed it. Sorry about that. Well, people can live with 10 seconds of echo. Okay, good. Or it might have been 30 seconds, but no, that was. Oh shoot. Okay, I know what's happening. OBS is recording the desktop audio also. Yeah, now it's off. All right. This is why I have no sound effects on my system, because when I do volume balancing, sometimes I have to turn the volume up quite a bit. And if there was some alert there, it would just blow me back and it would be horrendous. So. Okay, so hopefully the chat gave you a lot to work with for some starter locations for some more sci-fi to look into. I'm on the lookout for more science fiction stuff myself. With books, with books, there's no shortage. I just need to catch up. With film, I'm kind of scraping the barrel some more. So, yeah, somebody's asking my thoughts on Don't Look Up. I talked about that. I think it's either in the last chat or the one before it. So I basically I thought it was pretty good, but it was rough for me to watch. I could only watch it in chunks. It was too close to home for some parts. Like the tech CEO in particular. That's the guy that the actor did too good a job. Okay, I'm skipping some more questions. Have you heard about Dymo printers? Oh yeah, we're using paper rolls with RFID chips in it to lock you out of using anything but specific paper. It's DRM for printers. Printers already had DRM. This is just an additional layer. Like printers are the I said in the Games as a Service video, they are the closest thing we have to how in the real world for how games are being handled as far as DRM goes. Because it's just like, they have hidden timers on them to make them go bad. They have like these little, they have lock-ins so that you have to buy the ink cartridges from that manufacturer. And then they have other things like, let's say you have like a combo thing where it's like a printer and a fax machine and a copier. And if one element isn't working, it'll shut down the whole thing. So none of it works. And then now we have the paper tracking. Printers are the only thing I know of in the real world that come as hostile as to what's happening with games as a service. For how many rights they're just trampling over. So, yeah, I'm lucky. I have a print shop not too far from me. So on the occasions I need it, mostly just for taxes, that's, and in case you're wondering, I'm actually not being a Luddite on taxes. I don't think it is even possible. I think in the past I tried to go in to see about filing my taxes online, and they said, well, if you have this requirement, then you can't file online. And then I would need I would need online tax software where I can prove that I have that proves there's a treaty between Poland and the United States, so there's a totalization agreement, and that I have been paying my Polish equivalent of Social Security each year. Don't think there's many online. So I'm not just refusing to adapt. It's that my taxes are such a nightmare that I don't think I even can go into the digital age on that. So I always have to print it out and mail it every year. Okay. Oh yeah, well, I saw this one earlier. If you were a fighting game character, what would your intro dialogue be? What would your winning dialogue be? At first I didn't know, but then the first thing that came to mind was like starting off, just say, leave me alone. Or yeah, leave me alone. And then if I won the fight, I would say like, I said, leave me alone. Like to the guy at the ground, you know, or another one, if I won the fight, I could also say like, what the hell's your problem? Like, yeah, like, what's something else I could say? Just something that suggests like I didn't want this fight. I'm just here, you know. Yeah. So yeah. Like what's your problem? Like, okay. Skipping some more. Do I think there should be a legal way to reuse video game assets? Well, yeah, I think the only sane option at this point is to like, well, just have like sane copyright laws, but that's not going to happen. Where stuff does enter the public domain after a given period of time. I don't think it would really hurt sales as much as speculated because, well, I was thinking of something like Star Trek. Okay, fine, you can make a Star Trek series, but like you're gonna need the money to put up to do that. Plus, you think people aren't going to want to see some of the original actors or like the top shelf actors for productions. So I don't know, but there's so much power behind that I don't see that as really changing. But yeah, of course I'd want a legal way to reuse video game assets that doesn't involve like millions of dollars. You know, I mean, maybe if it was like really fresh copyright, so like it just came out, but yeah, I'm just trying to focus on like not having the stuff destroyed. I feel like that's much more of a black and white issue. It's only just them dodging law enforcement or subverting it that this has been able to happen. That what you pay money for gets destroyed. So I'm just trying to stick to that. I don't. It's like I said earlier. I'm not good with fighting battles I consider hopeless. And I don't consider this one hopeless. I actually see an opening. Stuff trying to change copyright law to something reasonable, I see that more as hopeless. But I could just be pessimistic on it. Okay, so I'm skipping some more questions. Oh yeah, well this one's worth addressing. Do you think the idea of your 20s time in college are the best time in your life and you should be happy is an overrated idea? I had major depression my freshman year in college. So yeah, I don't worry about it if you're not adhering to that. What were the best times of my life? I guess probably like later. I mean, I guess I was really bogged down too by like the thought that I was just, having the hell jobs really impacted my outlook on things. I mean, maybe like before I had major depression, like late teenager, that was a little better. But even then, there's a lot of stuff I didn't like. I guess like late 20s, early 30s, and it's been better since then because then I met, my now wife during that time. I had more confidence in making it live. But even then, that machinima shockwave was a real mess too. So a lot of it can depend on what's going on in your life. I'd say the only thing you should really like feel like that you should maybe have more of an obligation at like in your 20s or like when you're younger. It's maybe more like physical activity stuff because obviously as you age, you're gonna run into more limitations on that. So if you have goals you want to achieve with your like physical fitness, or you like want to run a marathon or something, or like be like top in some sport or something like that, or really get in the that's when you really want to do it because that's when you're at your peak. Or I guess also esports stuff if that's what you're into. I've heard like the neurons in your brain, like I think like your absolute peak, it's like up until you're around the age, I want to say it's 27, but it might have been younger. So if you want like absolute maximum, something that requires like absolute maximum reflexes, that's another time that you want to pour your 20s to. But if you're like in your 20s and you're miserable, maybe there are really good reasons you're miserable, and you should focus on just trying to get out of that and not worry about like some stereotype of what other people were experiencing. You know, I mean, uh, it's yeah. So I'd say my 20s and college time were not my happiest times. I mean, I didn't have a lot of connections to people. I was bouncing around between like working versus going back to college, and yeah, I would kind of alternate between going to college for 6 months to a year, then working for 6 months to a year until I finally graduated later. And plus, college is getting so expensive now. So it's, I mean, like no joke, you might, I mean, it probably wouldn't be as easy, but I mean, depending on your personality, you might have a better time and far more economical just alternating between like, well, I guess you can't get scholarship that way, but like for the benefits you get at college, it's like social stuff and, you know, getting an education. Well, you can get a lot of education now, and maybe you could just save it for, maybe if it's, once you're getting to like real advanced stuff, maybe you could get a degree, like just go for like the advanced classes. So you're only, and then just try to do social stuff on your own, you know, try and find clubs to join, or, but I mean, that can be easier said than done. But yeah, so yeah, don't feel bad at all if you're not happy during. I mean, I had major depression during that time, so it's been better since I haven't. Okay, let's see. Okay, I may want to. Somebody's asking about like situation with Ukraine and Russia. I may want to avoid this question just because I'm not sure how broad YouTube's brush is with the, you know, with flagging stuff for the videos that can be problematic. This isn't worth risking my channel over. I mean, for me personally, besides, it's not like I've been struggling to catch up on the research on this. So this would be a better question for someone who knows what they're talking about. My view that I'm totally willing to back up on this is the courses of action that take us away from World War III are the correct ones. Like, and I don't care what your view is on anything else. So, War, well, I think it was Einstein who had a good quote about that, saying, I do not know. Here, let's see. I think he had a good quote on that. So you're lost in the fog if you think that's incorrect. I will stand by that stance. Okay, well, the quote. Okay, it's unproven if whether Einstein said this or not, but the quote is, oh come on, they don't even list the full damn quote on this. This is a freaking fact. Yeah, this is Snopes. trying to fact check if Einstein said this, and they don't even list the full damn quote. Like, okay, well, okay, here we go. Some random Quora.com. This is what I mean. When fact checking sites get something wrong, that's like that. It's not good. Okay, I do not know what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. That's the message I was trying to lead up to. So that's what it. The thing is, World War III could so easily spiral to MAD, mutually assured destruction, where Russia and the U.S. could launch thousands of nuclear bombs, which would just devastate humanity and ecosystem and everything. So it's like, to me, it's madness to even flirt with that idea. So, and I should probably hold my tongue because this is where I could get in trouble saying more than this on YouTube, but that's my stance. Anything towards that is madness. And what you should look at the bigger picture, whatever you think about the war in Ukraine and Russia. That's what I would advise. So, and then beyond that, you probably need to do a lot of research to really know what's going on. So anyway, or be an expert in the field, or be a resident there. So yeah, that's my main thought on all this. This World War III is no good, and it would be nice. And I would say a lot of the news does not treat that with as much gravity as it should. I have seen pro World War III news articles coming from mainstream outlets, which again just strikes me as insane. And to be honest, I don't know how much, but this has not helped my concentration when working on the videos. I mean, not to lay that as an excuse, but it slowed it down for sure. Just like when I had the machinima thing going on, that was really worrying me. Like I got less done then too. Like you'd think I could work ahead to when it was resolved, but it was consuming more of my thoughts than it should have. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, well, I'll get to live questions in a second, or I hope. For movies based on books, do you tend to read the original book first? I remember reading the first Blood novel and enjoying it a lot more than the movie. I'll have to check it out then. I didn't realize it was based on a novel. I guess I tend to watch the movies first unless I've heard that the book's like way better. I mean, it's... yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things I kind of debate with myself because I guess it's like, what do I want? My mentality is I kind of want the surprises to have the most impact on me. And I feel like I'm probably still going to have more surprises from reading the book and getting everything like the movie missed or changed than I would from reading the book then watching the movie. Yeah, what was it? I read the movie. I read the book Timeline first by Michael Crichton, and I saw the movie, and the movie was just like, whatever. Whereas the book was pretty interesting, I thought, so. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay, yeah, they're asking what I've played, read, watched the last 2 months. Okay, yeah, I made notes of some of them. Okay, well, this happened in February. Yeah, I guess I should, I guess I have some minor news. Doesn't really affect anything on your guys' end, but I made the plunge and I'm on an ultra wide monitor now. I was going back and forth. I think even in the Darkwood stream, I was saying it. And the first few days, I was wondering if I had made a mistake. but I've gotten used to it, and now I overall like it more. Um, it's it depends on the game how big a difference it makes. For some games, I'd say it's no big deal. For racing games, it's absolutely nicer. But it's a higher resolution now than what I had, and I got it knowing that. Um, but it's what I knew that this might cut me off from playing like newer games just because I want to be able to drive as many pixels, and that's the case. So I've been trying to gravitate more towards older stuff. So one of the games I tried out on it was Serious Sam 2, and I was actually shocked how good that still looked on this. And I was having a lot of fun with it. I really just meant to do it as a test, but I ended up enjoying it so much. I ended up playing through the whole game again in February. So it what? And then after that, it made me want more Serious Sam. And so I went over to the dark side and I ran an emulator to do the one 3D Serious Sam I hadn't played, which was Next Encounter. So, and I got mouse aiming working for that. It was pretty janky, but because even if I had the console in front of me, I am worthless on a gamepad with thumbstick aiming. I at least need my hand to aim with it. So I played through Next Encounter, I think part of last month and this month, and it was pretty good. I'd say it's like it feels better and worse than First Encounter. And some it's like a mix. I think Second Encounter is still a little better than it. Like you could still see some of the limitations of it, but it was more Serious Sam. There's definitely some neat moments in it. Let's see. One game I tried but gave up on and just watched the playthrough of it was from that big pack earlier. It's called Pagan Autogeny. The premise was that you were exploring the ruins of a now dead MMO, and and that wasn't really what it felt like. It felt more like just some sort of like weird offbeat semi-horror-ish game that's there to confuse you. Whereas I would have liked to see more like the ruins and like kind of exploring around in that to kind of, except one that's obviously produced, you know, like a lore ruins of an MMO. I think that would have been more interesting, but and I played a little bit more of it. Haven't gotten much farther in it. I've been playing more of that game I mentioned earlier, Carrier Command Gaia Mission. I'm liking it. It again, it's the closest thing I've seen to single player PlanetSide. Maybe there's some other games like that I don't know about. They really they really blur the lines between like having a grand strategy of like, you know, trying to overlook the entire battle versus like on the ground action. And I think there's a few other games like that. I think the game Savage was like that. There might be some other ones I don't know about that I need to look into that are probably on my 2 playlists. I just haven't realized that's what they are. But yeah, I'd like to see more along those lines. In fact, I was thinking it's like they do a lot of things right where you can AI control your vehicles, but the AI is not that great. So you really have to be the one going in there to handle things, but they can be good for like holding a position that you already took care of, that sort of thing, or like telling them to like retreat back to your ship to get repairs or fuel or ammo, that sort of thing. So what I was thinking is, man, I really want to see a hybrid of this and something like PlanetSide 2 where I just want more. Like I want like hundreds of troops and vehicles and stuff like that, but a lot of the principles in that game, Carrier Command Gaia Mission. So I gotta check more into that. And let's see, another game. Oh yeah, this wasn't me playing it because I never really was gonna play this one, but I recently watched a playthrough of Leisure Suit Larry 2. I'm probably gonna play the old Sierra game, VGA Sierra games that I missed, but the EGA ones where you had to type in the commands, I do not miss that at all. But I was kind of curious. It had some fun moments. I like in that game they have a parachute vending machine at the airport. I thought I liked that idea. uh, it's a couple other neat things, but it was okay. It wasn't amazing or anything, but I think that's it for games. Oh yeah, I've been playing a little bit of what was it? Need for Speed Most Wanted, the 2012 version. That's more. I'm playing that more as just kind of a casual thing. Like if I just want to break for that's totally a game you can play for just 15, 20 minutes as a break. And that runs at full speed on the ultra wide, so that's nice. Yeah, I figure with my video card and the ultra wide, the cutoff point for AAA games is probably around 2012, 2013 for me to hit 60 frames a second. If it's much more modern than that, I'm probably gonna have some chop on it, or just do 2D games. Right. Okay, I just glanced and saw this question. What do you think about playing Supreme Commander in first person? I think you would need really good controls to manage everything, but it could be awesome. Like you would need a reason. See, the conflict there from a game design perspective is if you're just talking strictly gameplay, there's no reason to never leave the isometric or top-down view if you want the maximum advantage. However, seeing stuff on the ground level looks cool. So it's like you want to do that, but the gameplay would be constantly pushing you towards top-down level. That's why I thought Carrier Command was really smart how they handled that, because you have an AI, but it's not that great. So you use the AI for some things, but if you really need to like push ahead and conquer a given area, you got to go manual for that to stand a chance. So they hit a good balance on that. But yeah, Supreme Commander would be awesome to have like a total conversion of, you just a heavy mod, because they have so many assets as it is that you just repurpose it and have something like that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I should get back to it. But I'm probably gonna read that. I haven't decided what I'm gonna read next. I've been just kind of catching up on news and articles I'm interested in, that sort of thing. I kind of do that in between reading books. Like I'll catch up on news and just topics of interest to me, and then I'll go back to reading a novel. Okay, I'll answer this real quick. They're saying, how do you personally feel about Vortigaunts? They said that their favorite fictional creature, and I want to know your opinion on them. I mean, they're just sort of there, I guess. I mean, they didn't create much of an impression on me one way or the other. I mean, for Freeman, I have it a totally different story, because he lived that. They were trying to kill him. He doesn't forget that. So, and Freeman is totally the sort of person who would hold a grudge. So yeah, for me personally, they're aliens. It's they didn't do much for me, but just sort of there. Okay. What will finally break the internet? Carrington event. I think that's what would do it. If you haven't watched it, check out the Deus Ex Invisible War episode I did. I go more into detail on that. No, that'll break the internet. That'll break it for sure. Anything else is just exaggerating or hyperbole. If you want to actually break the internet, that's what'll do it. Okay, well, this has been asked before, but they say that they think they might have ADHD and they have trouble adhering to a schedule. It's less about well, I've been doing this enough that it's less about a schedule for me and more about goals I want to hit. Because what I find is if you have a schedule, it can work. It depends on what kind of work you do. Because like, what if your schedule is to do this unknown thing you've never done before, and you're giving yourself 3 hours, and at the end of 3 hours, you're not done, and it's still really important that you're going to get this thing done. Well, then you got to keep going, really, or else figure out when you are going to be able to carve out more time for it. So I usually just kind of have like a list of goals I'm trying to hit that day for things I want to accomplish. And it seems like, and I basically never done early. So I'm usually, I guess I'm too ambitious with my goals. So that keeps me busy. Yeah, like today I have like some emails I wanted to do. I need to finish off all the supplemental stuff for the big game dungeon so that game dungeon is in the bag except for the editing. I want to get to that phase. More. I didn't want. I didn't want to do voice acting today because I knew I was going to do the stream, so I didn't want my voice to get too hoarse. So I intentionally postponed that one. Getting my list mixed up here. Yeah, more emails. Different work related to the side project, which I don't want to give it away exactly what exactly I was doing. One of the other side videos, I'm not even touching it till I get more done in the other videos. So yeah, and then some more prep work for working with the editor. I need to do some tests to make sure that we're on. See, for the editing, what I did was after the first wave, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to learn all these different editors until I'm sure I want to work with this person. Like, so I just had everybody make like render copies for me and then watch the video. Well, since this guy's passed the test, now I need to make sure we're on the same page with the editor. I can make sure that like I can open up his project files. There aren't any like technical weirdness. So now I'm going to iron all that out since he kind of made it through the gauntlet there. And I might have to do the same thing with the other editor who's using a different video editing software if he passes the final test here. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's not the Hunger Games and that there can be only one, but it was similar odds. So both editors can pass. You know, it's just only one episode per editor. Okay. Are there any TV shows or cartoons you watched as a kid, teenager, you still enjoy now as an adult? Oh yeah, especially as a teenager. I mean, well, as an adult, I've been able to catch up on more stuff I didn't have access to. I could only see at a friend's house. Like again, I watched all of Beavis and Butthead. I need to catch up on one of my all-time favorites, the Sniffle and Ollie show. It was hosted by sock puppets, late night on MTV. A friend would tape some of them for me. They were hilarious. As a kid, probably not as many, because like kids shows, I guess I could still see myself as an adult wanting to watch more Looney Tunes or maybe Rocky and Bullwinkle, because those have more of a universal appeal. Whereas a lot of kids shows, it's like after you've grown up, they just don't have the same appeal. It's like in the Sin episodes, I wanted to like Ninja Turtles more. I mean, I like it thematically still, but no, it was the dialogue. It was for kids. It was just for kids. Though I am looking forward to the new 2D Ninja Turtles game. Was it Shredder's Revenge? I saw the trailer for that. It looked awesome. But yeah, the writing has to hold like. Looney Tunes has stuff that like it has a pretty broad spectrum where it can a lot of it can appeal to adults too. Like I particularly want to watch the the Foghorn Leghorn segments again. He was one of my favorite characters as a kid. So yeah, there might be a few, I guess. It's that's where writing totally comes into play. Have you considered not juggling 4 videos at a time, but instead finish one of them every once in a while? Absolutely, and that's what I was trying to do. Sorry if I sound bitter, it's because I am. The monthly update that something is almost done soon does not help. My apologies. This is not. This is what it looks like when everything's going to hell, production. But I'm really gonna try and start redeeming myself. So yeah, I share your frustration. And I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it did not help. I haven't fallen this much off course before, I don't think. Yeah, but that's why I'm so excited about having editing help, so I don't have to do almost everything myself. I think it's going to make a big difference. But okay, I want to move on. The stuff like this is why I wanted to just hide and just not appear until I had more videos. Okay. And yes, it's not, I have, this wasn't the plan. This wasn't the plan, you know, to do, that's what I wanted to get at. It's that, like, my impulses got the better of me, and they're not always good impulses for maximum productivity, you know? And see, right after this on Reddit, the next question is, do you have any random videos planned? Yeah, but they are all backseat to these next 4, all of them. And when I say next 4, it might be more than that, because I'd like to get multiple game dungeons if Freeman's Mind's out. So that's just going to be the priority. Well, we'll see how much time editing an editor saves me. Okay, they're asking if I had any game dungeons planned on a senior home. The only 2 games I can think of right offhand that take place in like a nursing home, I think there was a level in one of the Beavis and Butthead games that does, and there was this Flash game I played, I think it was called like Disorderly, where you play an orderly at a senior home, and oh yeah, there was one level in this other game I played, but I forgot the title of it. It was where you play this astronaut coming back to Earth and everything's devastated, and you're trying to figure out what happened, but you can go back in time. You can kind of swap back and forth. It's like kind of a platformer. They had a senior home level in that. Yeah, the Disorderly Flash game I remember was kind of funny, but it might have been gross though. I can't remember. How much trouble, stress does the video chat cause you each month? Not much. The most is just getting set up in time and then just taking hours to do this. And just the biggest stress is just me just being ashamed I don't have more videos out. That's so if I have a lot of videos out, I'll feel much better about these. So every time a new game releases, I keep noticing ugly filters and anti-aliasing. How can I and the rest who cares about this issue change the minds of game publishers, developers, who are apparently lizard men? I don't know. You might need to talk to somebody who's more of an industry insider in this. I think these might be becoming more of like top-down decisions where it's not the developer making these choices, it's the producer, because they saw another game do this and it sold a lot of copies, so that means we need to do this. For anti-aliasing, we're seeing better options emerge, I think, for big titles. So that's getting a little better. And I think the tinning is getting better than it used to be. Like the dark ages, where I want to say were like late 2000s, early 2010s. That's when it was like at its worst. Okay, somebody's saying posted from previous video chat, but it got 0 points. This is a question that would need a longer answer. Sorry, you're gonna need more points next time. So try to get more votes. Get your friends to vote or something. Okay, so some of these aren't bad questions. It's just I need more votes because I don't want the time running on forever. Okay. I don't know Boston the band. So yeah, if I can answer the questions that quickly, then. I still need to catch up on the birthday stories. This is why I was hesitant about making the birthday video. I'll get through it. I am looking forward to it. It's just my email is just like a rat's nest. Okay, well, I'll mention this. They're saying Destiny 2 is unplayable on Windows 7 and 8 because of a bug. And Bungie sat on that for more than a month and are just now fixing a next week update. What are your thoughts on that? This is a taste of things to come. Destiny 2 is an online-only game. At some point, they're going to end support for it. And then they're going to come out with this corporate PR BS that says, like, it's never easy to make these decisions, but it's time to come to sunset that, like, you know, it's just like, yeah, we gotta destroy our game now. That this is totally preventable and you pay money for, but we don't care because we're getting away with this and it hasn't been examined by the law. That's just a microcosm of it. You know, I mean, if it was an online only game, fine, play the old version, you know? Then not all the pressure's on the developers too. I mean, Destiny 2, it's like, I guess it's balanced to be an online only one. It's just, I'm resentful because have they made an end of life plan? Have they said that, like, no matter what, you know, you will be able to play Destiny 2 in the future? You know, of course not. Like, almost none of them do that. I mean, that's what I just give. I mean, and again, the game's a visual feast. So it's just to do all that effort to end up throwing it in the garbage. It's just, I'm never going to adapt to that. My brain does not compute on that. And this is just like a microcosm of that. Because what's going to happen is that they might fix it and then people forget about it. So, whereas I still see the end eventually coming. Oh yeah, just saying Magda got me for April Fool's Day. Yeah, I was confused. She was saying she published one of her short stories. So I said, oh, congratulations. Then she's like, April Fools, I got you. It's like, oh, okay. I thought it was kind of a bizarre one to put. Apparently it was more of a joke than I realized, but she didn't explain it in a way that I got that. So, like, I was trying to be happy for her, but I mean, but by published, I thought she just meant that she put it online at like a site that took it in or something like that. You know, I didn't think it was like in Barnes and Noble or something like that. But okay, I'll start answering live questions now. Somebody's saying, you know Boston, or at least you know More Than a Feeling. It's famous for karaoke. Okay, well, maybe I do know the song, but I don't know the name or the lyrics or anything. See, this is why I have so many soundtracks. I tend to listen to the music. So like, here, I bet if, okay, here, I'll listen to More Than a Feeling quick and I'll probably recognize it. And, and I need to do that in private mode. Otherwise, it'll affect my YouTube recommendations. Yeah, I mean, 22 million views. Not quite my thing. Actually, I don't know if I have heard this one. I mean, it's like the part that feel more like rock. I almost start liking it, but then it like goes back to stuff that feels kind of sappier. It's not my thing. So sorry if this is blasphemy to Boston fans, but how long does it take to grow a good beard? Well, it depends on your genes. For me, a couple days. For other people, weeks to months. Yeah. In regards to Avatar and the tree scene, the Na'vi were shooting from a lower position from farther away with no velocity advantage. And the impact angle against the gumchits was extremely shallow. Yeah, but they were bouncing right off. It's not like were they cracking it? Maybe they were. Plus, I mean, here's my issue. We have technology right now that could repel a Na'vi attack. Like you think a modern, like even with the spear on the gliding animal, do you think a modern attack chopper couldn't handle like him on the giant bird, like with missiles or like chain guns or something? Like, especially if you had like really armor piercing stuff, like let's say its skin's extra thick or something like that. It's hard to say if the change in tactics could have been enough bows and arrows effective, but it's unfair to say they were doing the same thing as before. It sure looked like the same thing. Besides, okay, that was just one thing from against the choppers with him swooping down, maybe to get enough momentum. I mean, what were they doing on the ground versus mechs? I mean, that was so effective earlier. I mean, we could drop napalm on them. I mean, like, again, we have I feel confident. Like, okay, let's say nukes are off the table. We don't want to go too crazy because we want to set up the mining operation there to take over Pandora. Okay? So we don't, you think the military right now could not handle that fight against them? I mean, like, there didn't seem to be a big change in tactics. Plus, okay, let's say, okay, here's what a smarter movie would have done. Let's say that really was the difference, that all they needed was just a little bit more push with the physics. Well, then you should have had a scene showing them training. Or maybe they had a wreck chopper that they were practicing against. Like, see, and they're demonstrating how this isn't enough force to do it, but this is. Like, show like a complete 180 in tactics. Like they're having to outwit them. Like they can't brute force this. Like they're trying to like cut off like their communications or something, or or like the Marine guy is helping them explain like, well, if you do this, this is gonna jam their signals, their computers, and then they don't have targeting on you. Or like, it just, I didn't see an obvious difference. In fact, okay, I only saw Avatar once before I made the Veil of Darkness episode, and then I went back and to get that scene. I didn't even notice that they were doing things differently when I saw it. So, okay, more questions. It's still, plus they were emphasizing how, that's the other thing. They went out of their way to emphasize how their tactics did not work. And they didn't show really new tactics aside from the bird, you know, so. The bird thing. Okay, scrolling up again to see the questions. Okay, yeah, dislike for modern architecture. I don't know the names of the types of architecture I like. That would take me more research. They're asking like what kinds of architecture I prefer. I do like a lot of the stuff you see in like this colonial America in the 1700s. I like stuff you see in the Victorian age in Europe. I like some of Mayan structures, like the ancient Mayan empires, like the pyramids, and I like a lot of their carvings and stuff like that. Some ancient Roman stuff can look pretty cool. Okay, in your career, do you have any stand-up memories of your satisfaction with your work? Any regrets? Yeah, probably. I mean, the biggest regret was kind of machinima, but there wasn't a good answer to that because I would never have been able to get started on them without them at the time. It's just that, man, they backstabbed me so hard, or they tried to backstab me so hard. Satisfaction with my work. Well, I guess making the first civil protection, the first couple civil protections gave me satisfaction. I want to say almost everything I've done since then, I feel like I haven't been living up to my potential. I mean, I guess Stranger in Need came out okay in like the tunnel, but I feel like I can do even better than that. That's what I'm gonna try and put into the movie. So I don't quite get full satisfaction, but I'm glad if others like it. And I try to make it good. I mean, it's not that I feel like I'm putting out garbage. It's just not. What? It's just not as good as the top tier stuff, I think. Okay. Would you open a basement arcade called Ross's Game Dungeon? If you two goes, I wouldn't be able to make a living, I don't think. I mean, I would have I'd be all right with running an arcade if that was a viable business, but man, I think for what very few ones there are, that they probably have that market cornered. You know? I have not heard of Who's Lila or Lila. Tomatoes are considered a fruit as ketchup a smoothie. No, I actually hate ketchup because I hate vinegar. I mean, I'm fine with tomato sauce, but I don't know of many smoothie with vinegar in it. I mean, maybe there are some, but I hate vinegar. It's just how I'm wired. Yeah, I'm doing it's probably going to be Unreal 5 for the movie because it has some extra animation features I could use and character model generation. However, if there was like a really good aspect, I think someone was trying to sell me on Unity, but I'd really need to see the proof to see. Again, it's all about animation because both. I mean, I want to say it'd almost certainly be Unity or Unreal, but the thing is, both engines are going to have great lighting, great mapping tools, good workflow, and everything. But whatever gives me, once I've learned the engine, whatever gives me the best options for animation and can give me the most shortcuts once I put the work in, that's the one. And my research seemed to edge out Unreal in that sense. So. I have not been listening to much music lately. I need to catch up. But once so that's the thing. I don't have time to like think about what I want to listen to. I just need to be like hit a button and go. So if I put in the thought in ahead of time, then I listen to a lot more music. Yeah, Navi are huge. Yeah, you think that you think an attack chopper cares how huge they are? Like you think attack choppers couldn't or jet fighters can take down like herd of elephants if they wanted to, and it wasn't military, it was a limited number of mercs. Yeah, fine. You think they're not going to bring their best stuff if they're really worried about that? Like, I mean, I'm not, yeah, okay, I'm not talking about the full US military. I'm talking, they brought a lot of gear. They had a lot of mechs and they had a lot of gunships. I think, like, I'm pretty sure we could make gunships that could repel the Navi spear right now. Like, you know. You think Mandalore and Seth are the same person? I doubt it. Their style seems pretty different. Let's see. Okay. But do his Polish market arcade locked down? Again, I mean, arcades, it's the pandemic didn't help a lot of businesses that depend on like social outgoings either, you know? So I mean, if there was a big market, you'd see a lot more arcades. One of my favorite parts of the tunnel is the casual partner banter. How do you come up with that? Because as someone who was in the military in similar situations, that felt so organic. I don't know how I'd come up with stuff. However, if you like that, I absolutely recommend the Machinima series, Hey Shipwreck. Maybe it is loaded with that. And the guy, it's about two guys in the Space Navy, and the creator was in the Navy. So it should be right up your alley then. I'll make a note to put that in the plot notes. Yeah, it's loaded. And I feel like I wish some TV shows just did more of that when they needed more filler. They just have more funny banter, you know? Have you considered making a game on your own, something in the Game Maker? I mean, maybe possibly, but it's like the kinds of games I most want to play are the kinds that take years to make. And I'm having trouble meeting like my videos from month to month here. So like, and also I don't really have like a burning desire to create a game. It's something I would really have to think about. So, whereas with movies, I have like multiple ideas or shows, that sort of thing. So it comes, ironically, it comes to me less naturally than like just because movies and TV, that's more of just like a story, you know, you're telling and how you present it. Whereas a game, that can be part of it, but it's also figuring out like, well, what's going to be fun? What's your objective? It's like, how do you tweak these mechanics? It's a different, you know, games are not movies. They're different. So I'm sure I could maybe figure out something fun eventually, but I guess my brain's more wired for the stories and presentation aspect of it. Okay, it peeved me. They're saying, oh, it was exactly the same. Okay, well, I think my War of the Worlds analogy is valid. I mean, I guess it varies which version. Like let's say like in the 60s one, I think they drop a nuke on it and it emerges. So, okay, let's say we got, well, this is just the US military. Let's say we got China and Russia and every other big military in the world helping, and we launch all of our missiles at the Martians and our nukes. And then that's what did it. Now we won, now they're all defeated. Would that have been a satisfying story? Would that have made a lot of sense? I mean, like, again, in the 60s one, they launch a nuke at the Martian, the 60s adaptation. At the Martian. Would it have made sense if we got together with the rest of the world's military and launched all our missiles at the Martians, even though they survived the nuke like it was nothing? But we get a lot more missiles, and we coordinate. You know, we coordinate. We'd say, okay, you hit them from the front, we'll hit them from the rear. Would that have made a lot of sense? I mean, it just, that feels like we're just kind of making it up, you know, and we don't have a good answer. Whereas the viruses are a far smarter solution to the story and much more satisfying. It's like the surprise weapon, you know, and a very real threat, like which. So yeah, I mean, well, that's why I thought like if the Pandora itself rose up against the invaders, I think that would have been a much better ending. But so yeah, okay, so maybe it wasn't exactly the same. Again, I only saw it once and then took the clips from it for Veil of Darkness, but I mean, maybe I missed the clue. In which case, they could have taken the 3 minutes to show them. They could have taken the 3 minutes to explain to the audience what's different this time besides more people. You know, I'm playing a lot of Serious Sam. You know, they throw more enemies at you. That doesn't mean they get a win. You know? That just means you gotta shoot more. So, okay, I think I'm going to end it on that. I'm going to try like hell to have more videos as soon as I can. I'll just leave it at that. So, somebody's saying complete food is not valid here. Yeah, I think the... Okay, well, nutrition's complicated. We'll just leave it on that. Basically, eat everything. I'm not sure about that. I think it... Well, unfortunately, they're asking... Okay, well, I'll answer this. Saying my opinion on Siberian Mayhem. Unfortunately, I don't have the... On this new monitor, I don't have the speed for Siberian Mayhem. I tested it out. I couldn't... I turned down some settings. I couldn't break like 39 frames a second. So I think that was just... I'm just going to have to shelf it. I've heard people say it's great, and it probably is, but that's okay. I can play other games, you know. Okay, but I should get back to work is what I should be doing. So, sorry I dropped the ball so hard, but I'm going to pick it up again. I'll leave it at that. Okay, I'll see you.